Today's episode has an extended cut, available on Patreon or my main channel's membership for as little as $1. Check the links in the description if you want to find out more. Crash. No!
Crash? Hello, it's me, Crash.
I've already fucked the intro.
You better call me Crash.
Crash for this entire podcast.
There we go.
Well, I remember I did that before and you hated it.
I didn't hate it.
When I just kept calling you Ash Bandicoot.
I reacted with mock indignation, as is my usual way.
Alright, well this is the best intro.
Yeah, this is the best intro for this podcast, which is, by both our measures, the hardest thing we've ever had to do in our lives.
Yeah, so this needs an explanation. We have tried to record the podcast for this game 3 times.
This is a podcast that has been months in the making, and you might think, dear listener, as you listen to the 15th episode of our premiere podcast, that due to our previous efforts, this one will be a banger, far beyond the quality of all the others, but you will be wrong.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, we've talked about some difficult to talk about games in the past. We've talked about, Haunting Ground, which is a game that has themes. Resident Evil 4, which is
a game that has themes.
Resident Evil 4, which is a cultural touchstone.
But has no themes.
Geist that sucks ass. But we're talking about just a nice, solid 3D platformer here. Just a scrungly game. A little scrimblo-bimblo game.
A game of quality. A game of uncontested quality. One that you would think would be incredibly easy to natter about for an extended period of time. But nay, it is the most impossible task anyone has ever set themselves.
We basically had a 2.5 hour long podcast on Crash 1 originally, but it just kept rambling, it kept derailing. And then when I was like, Ash, can we please do this one again? Because...
And I was like, you know what, Conley, I've got a busy schedule, but I'll make the time for you. I'll fill up some time in my busy schedule of mining.
Yeah. If for those of you who don't know, Ash works in a mine. She digs up valuable rocks and gems.
And I have to give up my mining time to be here with you to talk about the stupid Orange Man game.
Yeah, well, I imagine this cut's kind of deep for you because Crash is a game about collecting gems and crystals and things.
It is, yes. That's what drew me to Crash Bandicoot when you first suggested it. It reminded me of my own personal history.
Yeah.
I, too, used to wear jorts. So let's all, collectively, gather around the campfire that is Crash Bandicoot, look deep into the flickering flames and see his visage.
And then we'll singe ourselves on them and crumple into a little black pile.
I'm just imagining like a campfire and the flames flickering and there's a little Crash Bandicoot waving between the flames. It's like the PS1 model.
Yeah, let me tell you a story of my ancestors. I mean, we've got stories to tell about Crash Bandicoot.
Oh yes, we are British people who were born in the 90s, so we have many things to say about Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, that's some important context. It's weird how much of a staple Crash is on the British gaming sphere.
Yeah, I presumed for the longest time that Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were British-developed games, which they are American, if anyone's curious, because they have such a cultural legacy for our generation. Like, they were so omnipresent in our childhoods. I just assumed they were from the island we were on.
Yeah, they did really well out here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the necessary context, I think, for that is the knowledge that prior to the PlayStation 1 generation, the United Kingdom and Europe more generally was kind of treated a bit as like a not important market, basically. Like Nintendo, when they did put consoles out here, they were always incredibly late with much fewer games that were all running at 50 hertz, so they were running like 25% slower.
Yeah.
Like Sega put up a bit more of a fight here, but it wasn't as targeted as Sony's entry into the market was. When the PS1, that was video games for us. That's the thing that we're nostalgic about. It's not the NES or the SNES or anything like that. It's the PS1. That's our thing.
No, exactly. I mean, that was because prior to the PlayStation 1 becoming a thing, most of the British gaming space was computers. It was the Amstrads and the Commodores, that sort of thing.
And your ZX Spectrum.
The ZX Spectrum, yeah.
The one way we can get Americans to say Z rather than Z.
Oh, true. True. I guess when you ingrain it into the noun,
it's part of the word. Yeah, it's a proper noun at that point.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the guy I knew who was trying to collect every single copy of Lemmings on every system?
You did not tell me that. I respect the hustle though.
I mean, he had to buy the systems for them as well, so it was like,
oh really?
My
wow.
God,
I didn't go that far.
Yeah, he's got so many old computers and everything, but like he's got quite a high-paying job, so he can afford it. But
what a jerk! He's not working class like we are in the mines. So Crash Bandicoot was very, very big in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, when the remake of it came out, it was repeatedly on the top 10 in the charts for months after it came out.
Yeah, it was a huge seller here.
As a result, it touched the hearts and the minds of little children like me.
Of all of our countrymen.
Of all the countrymen, because this is the first game I ever played.
Wow.
At least I'd say it's
it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a bad thing. This is a good game to have your first experience.
I know, it explains a lot about me.
Yeah.
I like
the same way that the first game I ever played was Resident Evil 1.
The PlayStation 1 was owned by my siblings collectively. And at one point they just went, let Connor have a go. He's watching us play. So they popped me into
And this is when your siblings were respectively 25 and 27, right?
They were younger than that. They were in their teens, at least.
Because that's always the thing, is that my older brother is close enough in age that we were basically perceived to be the same age. Like, he's 2 years older than me, but it was close enough that we owned a PS1 together, we owned a PS2 together, we owned an Xbox together. There was always joint gifts.
Yeah, my siblings are about a decade apart from me.
Yeah.
I'm the weird young one that just sort of happened at one point, unexpectedly.
It was a beautiful miracle.
It was a beautiful miracle, because I got to experience Orange Man.
Yeah.
Little orange guy.
And the world got to know more about Dawn of War Soulstorm.
If it wasn't for me...
If it wasn't for you, no one would know.
A few more people wouldn't know about Dawn of War 2 Chaos Racing.
The story would have gone untold.
I guess. They popped me down, and they were just like...
Wait. They popped you down. They were like, all right, Connor. You're 6 years old, but we got something incredible for you.
They gave me the controller in the first level, and they went, hey, go on ahead. And I just ran into the first crab, the first big crab, and I died.
Oh, you play like me then?
Yeah. And I was just like, oh. And then I had to learn in the hot crucible, the trial by
Your
fire.
soul was forged by Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, which if that was too much for me, I had to stop for a bit. And then fast forward about a year or two, my siblings kind of move out. I'm given the PlayStation just by default because they're like, oh, he'll use it. And then I'm just like, all right.
You're 7 at this point?
Yeah, probably. Probably. And I go, all right, well, I've now got Crash Bandicoot. Time to load up this save that my siblings had done the last time they played this, because they played through this game and 100%ed it like 3 or 4 times before I... Yeah. Which I'm surprised at, given that this game is quite hard.
Hey, when you're a child, or when you're a teen, I suppose you've got a lot of time for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then...
Although when I was a teen, I was only 100%ing Lego Star Wars.
Oh,
That was as far as my skills took me.
But I loaded up this save file they had, and it loads up onto Slippery Climb, the hardest level in the game.
Well, I don't know. That's, og wild.
And that became an even tougher crucible that forced me to become very good at this game.
Did you never think to just restart from the beginning?
Oh, no, I did.
Yeah.
But I would just...
But did you, periodically return to this other save to be like, no, now's the time, I'm ready?
Yeah, well, I eventually found out you can walk to the first level, collect all the lives by going back from the start.
So you were industrious as a child?
Yeah. Although I did learn that after, the 12th attempt of trying to do Slippery Climb and...
getting absolutely turfed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you remember if you made any progress in that level? Because that level is hard from the outset.
Not on those initial attempts, but once I actually learned how to platform properly through the rest of it.
Yeah, it's like the Mulan training sequence,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But it was... Imagine Mulan having to run away from a big boulder.
And be a better movie, if you ask me.
Jumping on several crabs. What is your history with this game, Ash?
So my history is nowhere near as specific, because I feel like Crash Bandicoot was so ubiquitous to my childhood that it was always there. I don't recall a time before Crash Bandicoot, Yeah. I've been playing Crash Bandicoot since before time immemorial, Although I'm fairly certain I never had Crash 1.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've played Crash 2 at a friend's house and owned Crash 3 Warped.
It was good fun to show you this for the first time and have you go through the gauntlet, and it's a experience of the list I remember very fondly.
I remember it very fondly too, because we beat this game in a single session.
We did. Yeah. One sitting. Not many games have that luxury on the list.
No. It reminded me most of playing Ridge Racer, where it was such a pure experience.
Yeah.
There was no bullshit to it, man. We were just going and we were doing it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, same room,
same Connor.
Despite everything,
it's still Connor. He hasn't been inalterably changed by the 14 episodes preceding this.
No, that is true.
That ain't happening till we get to Lost Planet 2.
A part of us never left the Regent of K episode. So, what's next on the agenda for Crash?
I don't know.
You've got you have the itinerary.
It is
whatever
game history.
Game history.
In contrast to our personal history.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've been talking for 15 minutes now, and for any of you who don't know what Crash Bandicoot is, you still don't know what Crash Bandicoot is.
True. So Crash Bandicoot is a racing simulator real-time strategy game.
Oh, yeah.
That was developed by the Pilgrims, so that they wouldn't be bored during their miserable lives.
Yeah. That was the one release they got.
It stars Jonathan Crash, Space Marine, who will go to the stars and redeem the communist ideal. A concept that hadn't been invented yet.
Wait, what?
The Pilgrims.
Oh, the Pilgrims. Wait. Well, when were the Pilgrims, though?
They were the 1600s.
Oh, you mean the Pilgrims? I was thinking of the Settlers.
No.
Yeah, it was a different idea.
So Crash Bandicoot has the exact opposite energy of the Pilgrims. And it was
the Pilgrims would hate this game.
It was developed in precise opposition of the Pilgrims. This is... What am I doing? This is why we needed to re-record this, because this is what we did last time.
I'm going to put you back on track, Connor.
All right.
Tell me about the development of Crash Bandicoot.
Gladly. This is something I know a decent bit about. So, picture the scene. It's the middle of the 90s, and Sony has unveiled the PlayStation, a brand new gaming console, a landmark of 3D gaming that will
switch to CD format.
Yep. Loads and loads of firsts for the gaming industry that will become normal mainstays for at least 20 years to come.
Kind of one of the main inflection points for modern video games, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the most important console releases, just in general, full stop.
No, absolutely. It kind of brought gaming into the mainstream proper. But there was a certain genre of game that was a staple of just about every big console that did well, which was the platformer.
If you were showing up to the field, you better have had a damn good mascot platformer.
Exactly. Yeah. Nintendo had Mario, Sega had Sonic, Atari had someone.
The 3DO had Gex.
The 3DO had Gex! Crystal Dynamics Gex!
Which I'm still fairly certain is the best-selling game on the 3DO.
But Sony didn't have a first-party platformer.
I mean, Sony, at this stage, didn't have first-party games.
No.
They didn't have an in-house development team who could make this kind of stuff for them.
Yeah, I mean, they were a tech company first and foremost. They dabbled in a whole ton of different markets. And
God, they were only developing the PlayStation because they got screwed over by Nintendo for the Famicom CD.
Yeah, which then became the Philips CDI, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah. So Sony very quickly had to find premium development talent and get them to work on filling out the PlayStation library to make it worth having.
And that's when a little company called Naughty Dog steps in, who hadn't made much.
You may have heard of. They made Way of the Warrior.
Way of the Warrior.
What was that for?
I think that was a Sega system. It might have been 32X. Editing Thunder, correct me in your lovely voice.
Editing Thunder here. Way of the Warrior was a game for the 3DO, so it was sitting pretty alongside Gex.
Right into our corrections department.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll put your letters here that you mail to us.
Email us at the list goes on at fuckoff.co.uk.
I'll buy the domain for fuckoff.com so I can get that. They made like Rings of Power.
What?
I think they made a game called Rings of Power.
What is that?
But they didn't have a lot to show for.
Yeah, they didn't have much of a milieu.
No, but they were like, let's make a title for this console. They got their development kits and they started working on a 3D platformer, which has a lot of challenges. You add a third dimension to platforming, and it becomes significantly harder to figure out where the fuck your character is going.
Yeah.
Or how
the distance you're jumping, or depth perception, all these problems.
Exactly. There's loads and loads of issues with it. Yeah. And the solution on their part was to be like, so what if we just kind of make it like a 2D game?
But you go up.
But yeah, you just go into the game rather than, back and forth. And some games have tried that.
Yeah, but in this game, the perspective switches.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going left to right, sometimes you're going up to down. And obviously it's all being rendered in 3D, rather than being in 2D.
Yeah, and so the focus was to tighten up the level design, keep it very linear, and as a result of that, you wouldn't have so many problems of characters fucking running around everywhere and getting lost.
It's a very appropriate game for the time and the platform.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
See, the things I always hear about the Crash Bandicoot 1 development is the trouble they had finding a suitable mascot.
Yeah.
Because I believe Crash Bandicoot didn't come fully formed with the game. They had to go through several iterations of his design.
They had to. Universal was the publisher for the game.
Yeah.
And they stepped in and meddled with it a lot. He was originally going to be called Willy the Wombat. And
Willy the Wombat! Woo!
They pushed real hard for him to be called Willy the Wombat, and Naughty Dog were just like, no one is going to fucking buy a game with a character
making a
called
game
Willy.
in the 90s, Bill Clinton is president, everything has to be radical.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
So, luckily, a breakthrough was made when they were fiddling around with what to kind of do in this game other than to walk around and avoid obstacles.
Yeah.
And that was when they added...
To push it from a jump game to the game.
Yeah.
Where you do everything.
The game?
That's what means if you attach it to something. It means it's the everything thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Because in this game, you both jump and spin.
You do both jump and spin.
And those are the two actions in life.
Yeah, they added these destructible objects, and they went, oh, he crashes into them. That's a good name. Crash.
Ooh.
Crash Wombat doesn't work.
Bullshit.
Crash Kangaroo probably would have worked.
It's better, but yeah.
But everyone knows kangaroos. Crash Bandicoot. We got an obscure animal. We're going to make the whole world learn what a bandicoot is.
Yeah.
And
we're about to get all marsupial up in here.
Hey! And they hired a guy called Charles Zambilis to design something that looked fucking nothing like a bandicoot.
Looks more like a sentient Dorito.
He does. He has no neck. He has many teeth. And he has jorts.
And he has radical jorts.
And that's the most 90s
and sneakers,
thing.
Right?
Yeah, sneakers. He's got very similar shoes to you. I think if we combined our current clothing
outfits,
together.
Yeah, so if you were wearing an Undertale skirt, would be there.
If Crash was wearing an Undertale skirt.
Yeah, that'd be better, I think.
Crash, it gets released. It's released
1996, right?
Yeah, August 31st, 1996 in the United States.
Crazy to think there's 2 years of the PSX without Crash Bandicoot 1.
Yeah, because it feels like such a staple.
What was coming out?
Wipeout and Tekken, I think.
Bushido Blade?
Yeah.
Fucking Tomba?
Oh, fucking Tomba.
Yeah.
Well, the Tomba crew were probably hoping that would be their breakthrough, but,
I guess everyone was racing to have the mascot platformer breakthrough, right?
They were.
We're going to be the PlayStation mascot guys.
They were. There were multiple attempts at doing, like a big 3D platformer on the PS1. I mean, not long after Crash 1 was Bubsy 3D, which is infamous for...
How did that compete in the arena?
Well, a fake game magazine gave it 96%.
So it's better than Crash.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Although, saying that, 1996, surely doesn't that mean that a few months after this game came out, Super Mario 64 came out?
Yeah, it was a few months before in June, I believe.
And do you think that would have changed the entire conversation around platformers in the 3D space?
Maybe, but the thing is that as much as I really like Crash, like it's a big favorite of mine, Mario 64 is an entirely different kind of 3D platformer, and I also think was the right direction because that game really emphasized the freedom and movement, which 100%. Is super
the sandbox kind of gameplay.
Yeah, whereas Crash focused largely on the obstacles and
that's a 2D platformer in 3D. That is a tight jump game, That is you just go in a straight line and you jump over things.
Yeah. Because I think this is a key thing to discuss with Crash. It's easy to compare it to Mario as a direct competitor, but the more apt comparison for Crash Bandicoot is Donkey Kong Country.
I always think it's really interesting to think that before Mario 64, the platformer they put out was Crash. After Mario 64, the platformer they put out was Spyro.
Yeah.
And Spyro is very much more going for that Mario 64 template.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rare had proven that very well, as had Nintendo themselves. Yeah. So we had like a...
When was Spyro 1?
Spyro 1 was 98.
Damn.
So that was around the same time as Crash 3.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
So they had quite a head start.
They did, yeah.
But I fucking love Spyro. That'll be another one.
Yeah.
Shall we get into this game's like premise plot? Is that what's next on the itinerary?
If we don't want to talk about Sonic anymore, then yes.
I don't think we've mentioned Sonic once. No, we do have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, in development, this was nicknamed the Sonic's Arse game because they... Wait, I can't jump into it like that, can I? That sounds like I sound like an insane
let's start
person.
from the beginning.
Right.
Sonic is a 2D platformer for the Sega Genesis.
Oh god. Webster's Dictionary
defines a video game. It defines Sonic's ass
as round and blue.
Spiky.
It was largely because they figured, okay, well, we're making a game about like a jumping animal mascot. But
he even spins.
Who even spins
in a different way, but he still spins.
Yeah, on a different vertices, a different dimension. And we're gonna turn it so you're at his back all the time, so you're constantly looking at Sonic's ass while you jump around. And to some people, that's a dream come true.
100%. Yeah.
Eventually, they would get that. Those freaks.
We would get the dream game that is Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
Tell me about the story of Crash Bandicoot.
All right. So the in-canon lore of Crash Bandicoot, because this is a modern age. If you know of a Sony game, you know of it as an immersive narrative experience. Yeah. You think of games like The Last of Us.
Yeah. Made by Naughty Dog.
Yeah. Or Uncharted. Made by Naughty Dog. So with that as a baseline, Crash Bandicoot, narrative experience.
It's a deep story.
Funnily enough, the actual context of Crash Bandicoot you don't get from just booting up the game. You actually have to wait on the main menu.
For the Attract movie to play.
Yeah.
Is it in the manual?
Yes, it is in the manual. If you want shall we have a live reading of the manual?
Okay. You should read it in French, though.
Oh, in French, yeah, sure. I'll go to the French pages, and I'll translate them directly into English.
Okay, I can confirm he is reading from the French pages.
Welcome to the lands down under. It's safe to say you may not know much of a local real estate around here, so we'll bring you up to speed. For starters, there's this creep named Dr. Neocortex, who owns 3 of the nicest little islands just southeast of Australia.
He is such a creep.
He's up to some strange experiments with the local marsupials and other critters, and he even had the nerve to mess with a bandicoot.
The nerve of it. The gall.
That you definitely know what that is. Dr. Cortex up and altered the genes of Crash, and now we have a perfectly good hero waiting for an opportunity to shine. Heroes are made, not just born. Now Crash Bandicoot. I almost called him Dr. Bandicoot.
Dr. Bandicoot. Please, Dr. Bandicoot was my father.
Well, Cortex is Crash's dad.
Oh, kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Crash Bandicoot was born as a normal marsupial before the events of the game.
Yeah,
right?
fuck this script. I'm going off script. So, Crash Bandicoot is born...
Guys, he almost chucked the manual, but then he realized it's actually valuable to him, and he didn't. He put it down gingerly.
So Crash Bandicoot is born to his 2 gay dads, who are both PhD scientists who worked at an evil academy or something.
What are their names, Connor?
Dr. Embryo, like a baby, and Dr. Neocortex, which is not a funny pun, that's just part of your brain. Cortex is an evil scientist, and he wants to rule over the world.
Yeah,
he's
and his master plan for doing this is making a bunch of really buff marsupials.
Yeah, Cortex is definitely not a furry.
No, there's no way.
No, so
that's why he has Torna.
That's why.
Which raises the question. All right, let's get into it. Fuck the story. Torna Bandicoot. She's a Bandicoot.
Yeah, she's a Bandicoot.
But she's not. Is she Torna Bandicoot or is she Torna the Bandicoot?
She's Torna Bandicoot.
Is she married to Crash?
They're not married.
Then why does he have? Why are their last names the same?
Because that's their species.
Okay, all right, let's move on. Torna the Bandicoot, and please excuse me for being crass, is damn fine. She's got hips that don't lie.
She was modeled after Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, and a chest you could eat dinner off of that.
Yeah, this is like Lara Croft levels. But on a Roger Rabbit style character.
But this brings us to the germane point. Was she like that from birth, or did Dr. Neocortex make her like that?
Oh, he definitely made her like that.
All right, so it's definitive. He is definitely a furry.
Absolutely.
There's no way around it.
Yeah, unless he was just like, I'll just give them human proportions, and then that happened, and he was like, I think I overcorrected in some areas. Embryo, you fucking pervert, what did you do? But sorry, boss. Yeah, sorry. Oh, no, wait, that's Engine. Ah, fuck it. The thing is Cortex has decided that Crash is going to become his general in his super mutant army. He wants Crash to be the brains of his operation.
Yeah. Imagine the scene in Fellowship of the Ring when Saruman is making the Urukai, and he gets the one Urukai out of the tree sap and puts the mark on him. But instead of that really buff, cool soldier guy, he brings out Crash Bandicoot's triangle head, and he's like, "You will lead my armies."
I want to see a version of Fellowship of the Ring now where Crash Bandicoot just runs up to Boromir and spins him into
away.
The distance.
Just fucking Gandalf is trying to jump over the bridge of Moria and then just falls down and his shoes come back up.
Why didn't they make those Lord of the Rings games like that?
Yeah, why didn't they put me in charge of that?
Yeah, they made like a Lord of the Rings Final Fantasy game. They should have made a Lord of the Rings Crash Bandicoot. That would have been
that would have been good.
That would have been amazing. But yes, Cortex is insistent that this Bandicoot will be his general.
He's got a good feeling about him.
Yeah, he will lead his Cortex commandos to world domination. And
do you know what's really funny about this game?
What?
Is that he never gets even anywhere close over the entire series to world domination.
No.
So it makes all of his plans seem absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you even saying that he has Neocortex commandos who is going to take over the world, he's never even in a position to do that ever.
No, he's not.
Like, he is so ineffective.
But unfortunately, they could not determine the cause of past failures, much like our podcast, our attempts of recording this. And so Crash instead becomes a dingus.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately escapes.
He's
like,
half-baked.
Like that.
And then we have the famous line, my favorite piece of dialogue in any piece of fiction ever, which is when Dr. Neocortex says, "Prepare the female Bandicoot."
Yeah, she's just standing there. She looks like a blow-up doll.
Yeah.
Like she's
she's like, "Well, thanks, Crash." It's a real dick move.
Well, Crash just runs. I think
He just immediately leaps out the window.
Yeah, and he says, "Uh-oh." The only time he says anything that isn't "whoa."
Well, in the English version, maybe.
In the English version, yeah. Sorry, there's
I only
local-
play in the sub, so.
Oh, you do. You do.
So that's kind of the call of action to this game, is that Crash is at the top of Dr. Neocortex's mega fortress. He jumps out the window and falls all the way to the bottom, and then has to climb back up.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the opening scene of this game.
Yeah, he washes up on the beach of the third island.
Yeah.
He shakes his head, looks around, and goes, "Well, I guess I'm fucking going."
Yeah, I mean, that is something that's admirable about him, is that even though he was a coward who didn't save his girlfriend, he does immediately pick himself back up and go, well, back to it.
Yeah.
Time to make these jumps.
Well, I want to emphasize this point because one thing that's consistent in a lot of Crash Bandicoot's marketing and is core to his image now is him being this insane maniac.
Yeah.
He's always got a massive grin, big beady eyes. Like, he looks like he's going to run at you and fucking tear your neck
On
out.
the box art, he is strutting confidently towards the camera with a huge grin on his face.
Exactly.
That is not the Crash Bandicoot I know.
No, if you actually look at him in the game himself, he's
freaking the fuck out.
he's a scared little animal.
He keeps looking back to the camera like, come on, help me.
He's like, like that. Yeah,
he is not having a good time.
He's like running through, just trying to. Honestly, he looks like he should be in Silent Hill, not in the Wampa Islands.
It's Wampa fruit.
Aren't you Tana? No, that doesn't make sense because she's already sexy. Oh wait, what if there's like a traditional
like a Mormon Torna,
like a Mormon Torna who's
Morma.
the actual Torna, and the Torna we know is like the Maria. Holy fucking shit!
I am, if you want me to be.
That would be great.
Dude, that's the crossover of the century.
Yeah, I need that. I need that so bad. Oh, fuck.
Listen, Silent Hill 2 hype is so huge right now because there's a mediocre remake out there, so get on it.
Come on, we'll make it happen.
I love Crash Bandicoot.
I love Crash Bandicoot.
I think he's so endearing, and the fact that he's so wired and so fucking like nervous all the time, I just find him so endearing.
Yeah, he's like cowering behind chairs or at gunfire. He's like
he's really an unlikely hero.
Yeah.
In difficult circumstances, doing the best that he can.
Exactly.
And we can all see something of ourselves in him.
I'll actually mention one thing that does contradict my point, which is when you get to the hog levels and he looks back at the camera.
He does look
with
back
his
at the
grin.
point and he's like, heh. Gives you a little wink, doesn't he?
He doesn't wink, he just raises his eyebrows like
yeah. He's, maybe that's because he's growing as a character. There's a really natural character arc there where he's becoming more confident as time goes on.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe it's a PS1 platformer and it's inconsistent with its character personality.
What? No, this is a Naughty Dog Sony first party title. This is The Last of Us Part 0.
This is the prequel?
Yeah, this is the prequel. Now, Ash.
What's up?
We need to talk about one of the most important aspects
of 100%.
A Crash Bandicoot game.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I'm just following down the squiggly lines in the itinerary that's been scribbled over.
I will remind you that you agreed to this itinerary, so everything here is authorized by you.
Yes, so following down this little mind map here, the most important thing to get into about Crash Bandicoot
bring it up.
are the themes?
The themes of the game. Well, Connor, as you well know, being a man of science, all fiction inherently is biased in some way. Nothing is value neutral. Everything is making a statement about something, no matter what it is. Let me talk to you about the adverse effects of industrialization and the effect this has on the natural world.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, but like that, but it's less bullshit.
Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey Kong! Are the Krangs industrializing? I guess they're making all those factories.
Yeah, they're polluting.
But it's modeled because they're pirates.
No, I suppose that is true. That is a big aspect of this, and you get it sort of bleeding into the level design and world design, which is that across the three islands, you kind of start in the most sort of underdeveloped, most natural-looking one.
Yeah. Where
the only things that there are, like, there's a few local people there, but there's, like...
Yeah, there's a few slightly insensitive racial characters in the game.
But then you get to the second island where there's the ruins of lost civilizations and that kind of thing. But the third island, where Cortex has built his castle directly, is the one where you are seeing big pipes pouring polluted substances into the sea.
Dumping radioactive waste into the rivers and stuff.
Yeah, like gouts of smoke going into the air and all this kind of stuff.
I'm going to choose to interpret Crash Bandicoot as man trying to gain mastery over nature and making it perverse. But nature will always fight back and reclaim its authority over the planet.
Perverse is the right word for Koala Kong. So
100%, yeah. That's the thing. There are some animals who have fallen into Dr. Neo Cortex's plans for domination, who do follow his footsteps.
Oh yeah, and some of them fucking know what they're doing.
Yeah. Some of them are CEOs.
Yeah, like Pinstripe Porteroo.
Yeah, they're in the Fortune 500.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, that man, he's got like zeppelins.
Yeah, he's got his fingers in many pies.
I don't know how long Cortex has been doing this for, but Pinstripe Porteroo is part of the mob, the Porteroo mob. He has mobsters.
Oh yeah, there's like a network there. There's been seeds being sown for generations, and what Dr. Neo Cortex has been waiting for is his general to appear, and he thinks he's finally found it in Crash Bandicoot, but that's when nature strikes back.
I just love the mental image that he was gonna put Crash Bandicoot in like a general's like big peak cap.
Yeah.
And
He's like pointing at points on like a big war map.
Yeah, and he's gonna wear a big coat and be like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Leave those survivors, whoa!
As he fucking spins around and demolishes a small country.
And then an armadillo walks into him and he dies.
I'm picturing the like Half-Life 2 style dystopian future where Cortex has survived, like he's won, and he's on the big TV screens going, "Welcome to City 17." And everyone's walking around, they look like the henchmen with the glasses.
Yeah.
That's the thing, are those henchmen creations? Are they robots? Are they men who he's hired?
I think they have to be men who he's hired, people who are working to see his dark designs realised.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. There are some bad people out there.
Listen, I know that we made fun of Cortex never getting close to world domination, but this fucking guy had a lot of assets.
He's got an organisation. He's got groundswell, you know.
He did. But ultimately, the message of this game, if we are to say that it has a message, is that ultimately nature will overcome mankind's desires for control.
You cannot tame the earth.
That you can't. For the earth will send its mightiest warrior, Crash Bandicoot.
To remind you that you are born of the earth and you shall be returned to the earth.
I think they try to take this in a literal direction with Crash of the Titans, but don't quote me on that.
We're refusing to cover Crash of the Titans.
We're not talking about Crash.
We'll talk about every other Crash game by the end of this, but Crash of the Titans is not happening. Shall we? Talk about the mechanics of this platform game.
Certainly. So, this is a 3D platformer, but it's taking a lot of notes from basic 2D platformers. And you mentioned previously about the change of perspective that sort of occurs, but for the most part, it is incredibly simple.
Pleasingly simple.
Yeah, pleasingly simple. You've got the D-pad to move, the X button to jump, both square and circle to spin, which is your primary way of breaking obstacles and...
it's like your attack, basically.
Yeah, and taking down opponents, where whenever you do that to a creature, like a hostile creature, it will spin away, like shrink away into the distance to give the illusion of depth, and it's the funniest fucking thing to me.
It is.
Because it doesn't work properly, it's just humorous to just imagine something just going fucking flying.
Yeah. And what I really like about it is that if you fling an enemy backwards and they hit another enemy, they also kill that enemy.
They do.
It's really fun.
So it breaks boxes as well, which is a fantastic little trick.
Very, just like cathartically pleasing. Just like the way these elements interact with each other, it's very, very satisfying.
I think when they figured that out, when they nailed that, I think they realized we've got it.
Yeah.
We've got a 3D platforming game that's going to do well because we have a unique sort of concept for a character. Don't check Taz the Tasmanian Devil. It's definitely not the same thing.
Don't worry about it.
And we have like a cathartic form of attack and form of traversal.
I think those are the elements that create an actually effective 3D mascot character. It's not just an appealing design or a great attitude, but when you have that character linked with a really good game feel that's unique to that character, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Crash's game feel is unusual in that I think that they made improvements to the way that he controlled in the later ones.
He's quite heavy in this first one. He drops very quickly.
He does drop very quickly, and that can make the game a lot harder for a lot of people, especially those used to more modern controls.
Yeah, I think when you get used to it, though, it works for the kind of game they're making. I think for the way that game is trying to be precise, him dropping fast is effective to me. I wouldn't want him to feel floaty.
Yeah. If you have played the remake of this, you'll probably be wondering, what are you talking about? It's consistent across the three. We'll get to the remake. We're talking about the original, if that's not clear. It's still pretty decent to control, all things considered.
I would say it's good to control.
Good to control.
I like the way this game feels. I think it feels tight. I think it feels satisfying. I think it works for the kind of game they're trying to make it. It's so simple as well. It's so pure. It's just you know what to do exactly when you see it.
Well, this brings me on to into a good point regarding sort of control and level design and everything, which is that I think that there is a surprising amount of depth to how every different platforming game has approached its controls and how it's approached its level design.
But when the assignment is so simple, it's make this character jump in a 3D space. The different ways that everyone approached it is really appealing to me.
Yeah.
Because they're all trying to do the same thing, but it all feels so different.
And to me, Crash Bandicoot emphasizes two very important concepts when it comes to approaching the game.
Yeah.
Which is confidence and patience.
Ooh.
Now,
wait, what's that last one?
Patience.
What? What are you talking about? You just go, man.
I'm talking about that reason why you kept dying on multiple.
Did I not beat the game?
You certainly did after a while, but you had to.
Hey.
You eventually had to learn.
One session.
Yes.
No patience there. I didn't lie and wait like a grasshopper. I just win and I saved the world.
No, you. At some points, you had to stop. You had to stop and let the fucking patterns go before you could cross.
All right, so it's confidence and patience.
Yes, and that's because generally speaking, there are a lot of games that do let you just go.
Yeah,
I think Mario's pretty good for that. Sonic is built on that.
I'd always go back to Meat Boy.
Yeah,
as being a game where you just go.
You do, absolutely. Super Meat Boy's fantastic fucking platformer where momentum and that kind of speed is super important. Crash, there is an awful lot of like, okay, I will need to stop here, actually see what the fuck the patterns are going on here before I try to cross, because otherwise I will hurt until my death or I'll collide with something that'll kill me.
I think the way I would describe the loop is that you'll pause and you'll consider what's in front of you and you'll consider the best way to approach it and the best way to make those jumps. But then the actual content that you have to get through will go beyond the screen you're looking at. So you'll begin with a really predetermined plan, start doing the jumps, and then the situation will change and you'll have to adapt to them really quickly.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, okay, hopefully I'll get to another stopping point where I can reevaluate. But you've got to like change up your style on the fly as you move through the level, basically.
Yeah.
Before you get to another rest point.
No, I think that's quite true. And I think something that's quite crucial to that is the idea of confidence as well, because there are many times where you get to this like lineup of obstacles and you do need to press on.
Yes.
You can't hesitate.
Yeah.
If you take that moment to go, oh, hold on a minute, I forgot how quickly that thing was going, and you decide
you've been pushed off, you're dead.
Yeah, you're gone. You need to go like, right, I am committing to this jump, because that's when you make it. That's when you hit just the lip of the platform and you land. That's when you just about collide with that enemy to the point where you are jumping on its head and squishing it, and not where you're hitting its spikes and getting impaled. And
and like the margin of error for these platforming sections is so small that you can't hesitate for a moment. You have to just feel it at a certain point.
Yeah, and in some cases that can be frustrating, but it also is incredibly fucking satisfying when you're like, oh my fucking god, I did it.
Yeah, honestly, when you put it like that, I would add a third concept to your little brew that you're making here, which is fragility.
Fragility.
Because the most important thing about Crash Bandicoot as a character, other than the fact that he spin and jump, is that he will die in one hit to everything in the game.
Yeah.
So you're trying to plan out the most effective way through the section that you're on with confidence and with patience, but also with the knowledge that if you mess up once, that's it for you and you have to start again. I think that's a really important ingredient to the way this game makes you think about its platforming.
Yeah.
Is that there is no room for error here. I got to get this right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. Because the fragility of your character emphasizes the patience in order to learn what you're getting into. But
it forces you to be precise.
Yeah, it also means that you can't be so conscious of that fragility that you hesitate. You have to come towards your obstacles and be like, no, I am a fucking force to be reckoned with. If I meet a crab, I am breaking its shell open and throwing it into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Like, I am a force of fucking nature. I'm gonna run at you.
I think that might be the beauty of the game's design, is that you have to be a confident, frail being. You have to be a being that can dive really quickly, but still have the confidence to proceed.
Yeah, he's a glass cannon of a man.
He is a glass cannon, yeah.
Although that isn't to say that he will always die of one hit, because there is something that he can pick up.
I know you can get the Aku Aku masks.
Yeah. That's like a small part of the game is that you have these little tiki masks that...
from a character called Aku Aku, who is like your spirit guide, I suppose.
Yeah.
He's never really explained in the first game at all. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, he just happens.
Yeah.
Like, you'll collect one of them and he'll act as like an extra hit point. Collect two and he'll change color and act as 2 hit points. But if you get 3, you'll get invincibility for about 15 seconds, which
yeah.
you move a little bit quicker, and that lets you just power through a lot of stuff.
I will note that obviously you can still fall to your death when you have the Aku Aku mask.
That you do, which is very funny because you're just plummeting down while you've got this invincibility on, and Crash is just like, I guess this doesn't do it. You don't cover gravity.
Yeah, I'll just be dying down. I'll be fine for 15 seconds and I'll die. I can feel it coming. It's horrible. It's harrowing.
This is a harrowing world. There is a lot going on.
It's a world of conflict.
A world of conflict between man and beast.
And also beast and beast.
Yes.
Because why are those beasts fighting me? I'm on their side.
Maybe they're Cortex's minions, or maybe they're just feral.
Yeah, maybe they're just actual animals.
I've always preferred that interpretation over them being like evil guys who have like mind control.
They don't seem evil. They're just hanging out.
Yeah, they're just this is just a skunk. It's just a skunk in the woods. It's gonna bite you.
It's a jerk.
I realize that we also need to talk about the collectible because. Okay, so moving on to the
back to themes.
Because most of the time in these platformers, it's like, what's your collectible? For Mario, it's coins. For Sonic, it's rings. For Spyro, it's gems. It's usually like a valuable thing.
Yeah.
What's valuable to Crash Bandicoot? He's a fucking little woodland guy. It's fruit.
He just wants delicious fruits.
He wants delicious fruits. He wants the Wampa fruits. I always called them apples.
Yeah, I always called them apples when I was young as well. Yeah, but they are very specifically Wampa fruits from Wampa Island.
That they are. I always assumed they tasted like mangoes.
I always imagined they were juicy.
Yeah.
Like, and they're slightly tough to bite into.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you collect them up, you go like...
Ugh.
It's like that sound. It's like
do that closer to the microphone, or...?
it's like that.
Yeah. Every time.
It's like... like that. It's
that
good.
Was pretty good.
It's good. Yeah. That's one for worst impression.
There you go.
This year at the
Forward
awards.
to next decade's award show when we get to it.
But yeah, you collect 100 of those, you can gain an extra life. It's
a life-based system in this game, yeah.
Which is pretty typical for the platformers that you get at this time.
I mean, I feel like this is another great link to why this game just feels like a SNES game with the respective changes that you can't even save whenever you want to in this game.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you have to get to certain like bonus levels to be able to save.
Yeah, so usually your lives are a little icon of your face. Well, Crash's face.
Of my face.
Yeah, of your face. They scan you into the game.
Yeah,
but you also get the little icons of Torna, of Embryo, and of Cortex.
Do you know what they remind me of?
What?
They remind me of in Donkey Kong Country when you get the icons of your animal friends and you have to get 3 of them to go to a bonus level.
Oh, true. Another Donkey Kong Country comparison is very apt. Another game where you collect fruit instead of gems.
There you go.
When you go through these rounds, except for the Embryo one for some fucking reason, you do get a save point unlocked.
You do, yeah.
Although it does also give you the option to get a password that you can put in on the main menu in order to get to that point in the game.
Yeah, which is nice to have as a feature. In case you want to just skip to a certain level.
Yeah, I've just always just saved.
Yeah, because we've got our memory cards, so...
Exactly. If you don't have a memory card, it's a nice alternative.
Don't even talk to us.
Don't even talk... What?
Yeah, unless you've got a memory card, don't even front to us. We don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, remember that when you leave your comment. If you don't have a PlayStation 1 memory card...
Forget about
it. we'll vet who we respond to by
post a picture of your memory card to get into the Discord.
The Torna levels are weird because you get transported into this like upwards tree world.
Into the treetops, yeah. And I always like the vibe up there.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it is.
But she's just kind of standing there and it's like, oh, but I found you.
We're done. Let's go home.
Like, come on.
Come on, babe.
Let's get out of here, babe.
And she just kind of goes, and then you leave and that's it.
Yeah, and she's just standing there. And
it's like, we'll see ya.
Okay, that's fine. I'll go into the teleporter. Whereas with Embryo, you get to the end of his levels are more of like they are very much a bonus round in that it's just to get extra lives.
Yeah, well, kind of the gimmick in the Torna levels is that you have to break a bunch of boxes in a clever way, basically, to get to the end of it.
Yeah, whereas the Embryo ones is usually that, but it's like, don't get blown up by TNT, stupid.
Yeah, dummy.
You fucking moron.
We should maybe take a moment to talk about boxes.
Boxes are important.
Boxes are kind of like the bread and butter of this whole series.
Yeah, there's multiple kinds. They build a lot of their platforming challenges around them.
Yeah, because some boxes you just jump on to break them and get what they've got inside, but some of them like make you bounce or other stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like the bouncy boxes are quite a curiosity because you can get up to 10 Wampa fruit on them, but usually if you just jump onto them regularly, they're kind of on a timer.
Yeah,
and you can only usually get 8.
Yeah.
And then it will break.
And there's some really nerve-grinding tauna levels where you will have like 5 bouncy boxes in a row and you have to bounce on each one 8 times to break it and then jump to the next one and repeat the process without falling back down.
Yeah, you can get into a rhythm with it, but it's just as easy to just have one hiccup and plummet to your death, and then you can't do the bonus round anymore. You can't.
You got to
save.
replay the whole level to do that round again.
Yeah, you can't save.
Yeah, idiot. Although you haven't got to break all the boxes to beat those levels.
No, those are fine. In the remake, you have to. In the remake, you need them to get like 100%.
Right.
But in the base game one, you can just go.
Oh yeah, but also in the remake, you can save at any point, right?
True. Yeah. So it's there's less pressure on that.
You can also be a girl. So it's better by default.
Oh, well, we'll get to this. The subtitle for this episode will be "We'll get to that."
We'll swim back around on that.
One thing that I like that they do, it's always cathartic, is when they just give you a big wall of boxes.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Smash into them.
You're about to say you crash into them.
You crash into them. You do crash into them.
You do, yeah.
As you spin into them to get sort of past them.
Although there is one really fun mechanic that I feel like is a massive fuck you from the developers, which is that if you spin near a collectible, you spin it away.
Yeah.
And you lose it.
Yeah, you do. You can lose lives that way.
Yeah. You can lose bonus level icons that way. It's fucked up.
That's fucking great.
It's like, don't go crazy on the spins, hun.
Yeah, it's just brutal. It's a
brutal game.
It's a kind of brutality from an older style of game that you just don't get now.
Yeah, that game is fucking hard. That game is hard as nails. Dude.
Yeah. Oh my god. Once we get to the levels, we can really emphasize that. You might be thinking, well, why be thorough enough to get all the boxes other than to get that sweet Wumpa fruit that's locked inside? That's because if you go through a level without dying once and you break every box, you will get a gem. Like a big old gem. I just said the Crash doesn't collect gems. I lied. They're just not like the base collectible.
Yeah, you can get through the entire game without needing to collect a single gem.
Yeah, it's for an optional ending. Gems are like a sort of a way to sort of get the 100% completion. But if you get into one of the 2 levels with the Cortex icons and you go through his like super hard bonus level, you will get a key that unlocks one of 2 secret levels. One of which is a hog riding level, and the other one...
Oh, yeah!
Which, you know what? That's a good segue to just talk about levels. Ash, we've talked about base mechanics. There's a million levels.
What's the other level you unlock?
Oh, it's like a darkness level.
Oh, the darkness. Infesting every corner of our beautiful world.
Mickey Mouse and
Crash
Kingdom
Bandicoot
Hearts.
is really a game about darkness. Infesting the hearts of man and Bandicoot.
Well, this is a very dark game, literally. There's loads of shadows everywhere.
Do you want to talk about levels? Aren't there any other mechanics in this game?
I mean...
Is there not like an economy in it? A shop mechanic?
No, there's not. It ain't Cuphead. You ain't got to buy, like, little...
Ain't got the Legend of Case shop guy.
It does no. It
tells you the demon potion.
Yeah, Crash goes into the demon realm.
Dude, and does nothing down there and then leaves. Why don't you and I take a lovely trip to the beach?
Yes.
So, tell me about N Sane Beach.
All right. First level of the game, Insanity Beach, is a pretty good introduction to
such a good vibe as well, man.
Yeah.
Did you load into that fucking level and you're like, let's fucking go. You're in this beautiful sunny beach. There's crabs everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's so appealing visually.
It really is. It really is. It's a good emphasis of the graphical potential that they managed to pull off with 100%. The PlayStation.
I think, honestly, one of the best looking PS1 games still.
You reckon?
I think the art style just holds it so well.
Fair.
I think it looks so nice. Like that, Spyro, Metal Gear, others.
I mean, they designed those characters to be polygonal, to really work with that system, and I think it really shows.
I think it's just a game that knows its limits.
Yeah.
And doesn't go beyond them. It's not like Final Fantasy IX, where it's really good looking, but it like makes the game play worse. It's just so perfect for what it is.
No, that's true. Like, loading screens can be a little bit long, but that's a PlayStation 1 thing across the whole fucking board.
But when you're loading such beauty, it's totally worth it every time.
Look upon that sweet orange guy just running around.
Freaking the fuck out. Fearing for his little life.
Although, admittedly, Insanity Beach is quite a unique level in that it's
an open world.
No?
There's many paths to explore.
Oh, well, I mean, that is something it does introduce. You kind of like climb...
Doesn't it introduce everything? Because it's the first level.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. I guess when you put it like that.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
It's interesting in that, first of all, once you get kind of midway through the level, you climb up the beach and into the jungle itself. The music changes and the environment entirely changes. No other level in the game really acts like that.
Yeah, that is curious.
But it's also very good at introducing lots of smaller quirks to the level design and also teaching you those core concepts. One, you need the confidence to just power ahead. Like
100%,
that change of perspective from what you're used to from a platformer is unusual, but you have to like just go into it. You have to just charge in, bat away the crabs, and just jump over the pits.
Well, it's one of those Mario 1-1 things that people are always going on about, where I feel like the first obstacle in this game is literally a platform that you have to jump onto, and there are boxes on that platform that you will probably land on as you jump onto the platform, teaching you can break boxes and there are things inside them.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't tell you to do these things, you just know how to do it organically through the way the game's set up.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. But it also kind of teaches you about the split paths, the question mark blocks that spawn in new blocks.
Yeah, having to precisely jump on boxes and use the momentum that you get to progress through platforming challenges, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's enough Aku masks for you to learn invincibility, assuming you don't get hit by a crab or something. But it does also introduce one of the more awkward quirks about playing Crash Bandicoot 1, which is that in order to get all of the boxes in a level, you might have to backtrack. Because
it's really weird.
Yeah, some boxes can be hidden, and sometimes there's split paths where there's boxes on both sides of the path.
It's so awkward because to go back, you have to go back. And the camera doesn't shift to go back to Crash's back. You're just walking backwards through the level.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to know what's coming up on that path to get through it successfully.
Yeah, and you can get got by enemies.
Yeah.
You can fall down pits. Like, that's like a big pitfall to Crash Bandicoot 1 in general, is that's a strong flaw of it. It's that and the save system, really, I think, are like the big things that can drag it down.
Coco.
And the lack of Coco, because some people fucking love Coco.
I love Coco.
You love Coco.
She's got a laptop.
She does have a laptop.
Yeah. It's my favorite character trait.
Having a laptop.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty good opening level.
It is,
in many aspects.
It's appealing. It teaches you the mechanics. It's pretty perfect.
Yeah. And then you get to the second level, Jungle...
Complete bullshit.
Well, the second level feels a lot more baseline. I actually think it's relatively forgettable.
Yeah.
Jungle rollers, as it's called, because it has these rolling wheels that
Oh,
roll
yeah.
around.
I like those wheels, though.
They're-
I like that they do that in perpetuity.
They do.
They will do that for as long as the Earth spins.
Yeah, no one's pushing them.
No.
They're just doing that. There's skunks lying around, there's big man-eating plants, which are fucking scary as a child.
Yeah. And also the the hitbox hitting them always feels wrong.
Yeah.
It always feels like you're just jumping into their mouth, but it works somehow.
Yeah. They're weird. I think that's why the confidence thing's important, is that you just have to defy any logic to
and trust in Crash.
Trust in Crash. But like, it's a pretty decent second level.
Sure.
I don't think it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fine. The third level is the Great Gate.
Oh, the Great Gate.
So it's the
This
first
is one of the 2D ones, right?
Yeah.
Although annoyingly, you can still move Crash in 3D. You can still go up and down.
Yes, which can mean that you can walk into the foreground and die.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
By falling off the gate. It should really be called the Great Wall, because it's not a gate, it doesn't open. You just kind of like clamber up this gigantic structure that's been built by the natives. And there's also the quirk that always jumps out to me about that level is these really annoying spinning wooden platforms that you have to spin them to make them level.
Because it's really awkward. It doesn't feel right when you do it.
They're only like that for a while, and then they'll go back to being vertical and you'll fall off. And they will always be in a sequence like 5 or 6 times up.
Yeah.
Which means
so it's
that...
like you better hope you land each one as you're going through, or you're fucked.
Yeah. And sometimes there will be precision platforming above them on bouncy boxes, which means that if you fall off from those, Crash will plummet like a million miles.
Vertical levels in Crash Bandicoot are heartbreakers, because if you miss one jump, you just fall all the fucking way back down. It's devastating.
But then we go to the first level that gets in all of the trailers for Crash Bandicoot 1, Boulders.
Which I have no idea how to feel about these. I feel like they're such an intrinsic part of the Crash Bandicoot formula, but they're also stupid.
Yeah, this is what's known as a chase level. The camera is facing towards you.
Chopper is there.
Chopper is there. Yeah. One of the clock tower chases. He says, "Oh, nice trick," and he throws a big boulder at you.
And Crash goes, "Whoa!"
Yeah. That's another game I'd like to see Crash Bandicoot in. Like, I think Crash Bandicoot is one of the funniest characters to put in any scenario.
100%.
I think he would be really funny in Clock Tower 3, because I want to see him spin away Sledgehammer.
I want to see him in military fatigues.
Yeah, I want to see him in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
For the Nintendo Wii.
For the Wii. Where he's just spinning away like the Russian Spetsnaz.
Gets shot by Makarov.
He gets shot. Wow! He'll like spin around in a circle in a dark void and collapse with cartoon noises. Well, imagine the Modern Warfare 1 scene with the nuke, where you're dying from radiation poisoning, but at the very end of it, you just hear...
Your sneakers fall off.
Yeah.
Here's what's fucked up about the boulders, is that you are running into the camera.
Yeah.
Away from a boulder.
Which means that you don't know what's coming ahead of you, and you have to react, think fast, on the fly.
They kind of, the level design is kind of well designed in the sense that they have, Wampa fruit that leads you down the right path to avoid the obstacles.
Yeah.
But you don't always have that, and it's still irritating to have to react to those things.
Yeah.
Especially if, in these levels where losing momentum means you will get crushed by the boulder.
You can't make many mistakes.
Mess up twice and that's kind of it for you.
Yeah, basically. You'll get completely crushed.
Yeah.
And that will be the end of Crash Bandicoot.
He'll be dead.
Until he respawns.
But his soul went to heaven.
Not in the original.
Not in the original?
In the original, he doesn't become an angel.
His soul is too blackened with sin.
He converts to Christianity in the following game. That's why he becomes an angel in that one. Then there's Upstream, which I would probably say is one of my favourite levels because it's one of the two big extremes to Crash Bandicoot 1.
Yeah.
And that extreme is surprisingly zen platforming.
Yeah.
It's peaceful, it's calm.
The water is rushing by, it's something very pleasing about it.
Yeah, you just kind of run along these lily pads, you avoid getting eaten by man-eating plants.
Yeah.
There's little
classic
fish,
zen stuff.
Little fish jumping around.
Yeah.
Like everyone's koi pond.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's
the man-eating plants.
Exactly.
The fish that kill you.
The fish that kill you. Well, I haven't fed them in a while. They'll take whatever they can get. And then is the first boss, Papu Papu.
And what a battle it is.
He's just a big guy with a stick.
Yeah. Straight from the corridors of Resident Evil 5 comes Papu Papu.
And all you have to do is just literally, he's like a Mario boss. You just jump on him 3 times.
He's a big fat guy.
Yeah, he spins around in a circle. Fun thing, though, is that if you do kill him, he will fall over dead. But if he lands on you, you do die. He will crush you dead in the process.
Fuck.
So it's fucked up.
That is fucked up. You're right.
I feel like they had to
Although you have come into his home and slain him.
Yeah, it's not quite... Crash is kind of a menace.
Yeah.
I think the local people probably see him as a demon. Because he is this abomination that's running
force
around.
Of nature that's killing them in the dozens.
Yeah, like there are local people on the Great Gate and stuff that you do just kind of spin away into oblivion.
You've murdered those guys.
I know. It's fucked.
They had families.
They did.
People who were relying on them.
Do they know?
I mean, Papu Papu might be the chief of that village for all we know.
He is.
Yeah,
he is
there
the
you
chief
go.
of that village. So we've caused a power vacuum.
Yeah.
Crash is a destabilizing force, much like Mother Nature. He is a living embodiment of a natural disaster.
There you go.
Nature's wrath. Then there is Rolling Stones.
You keep picking up the paper like you're using that to remember the levels, even though you're just doing it purely from memory.
This is when we start getting to the levels actually having puns for names and not just being literal. Because we get the second kind of jungle roller level and it's called Rolling Stones.
Oh, baby.
Like the band.
Like the JoJo chapter.
And there's not much to say about this one beyond the second one. This is the first repetition of a theme.
Yeah.
The only thing really is that it's the first time you get introduced to an embryo level. And the thing is that most of those icons are hidden quite well. You have to be really thorough across the level to try and find them at a whim. So if you don't do that, you'll just find one icon at the very end and be like, oh, there was a second thing I could have done.
Was that important? I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Although that might be a worthwhile tangent for me to go into.
Yeah.
If you do go through the entire level without dying once, but you don't break every gem in a level, every box that you failed to break gets dropped on Crash's head, and he cowers in the corner like a little animal.
He's in obvious pain.
And he's like, oh!
I'm sorry!
Oh god, it's horrible.
Who's doing this to me?
It's horrid punishment for this little guy.
Who is demanding these boxes be broken?
Aku Aku?
What a monster.
I know. Not a good father figure to Crash.
No.
Crash has no good father figures.
And that's why he is the way he is.
Exactly.
That's why he's rebellious and wears jorts. Yeah.
That's pretty right.
Back to the themes. Let's go.
Ah, yeah. So then there's Hogwild, where Crash sees a pig and goes, a wild boar.
I can use this to fuck up some natives.
Yes, and he rides on it. He goes through a native village, narrowly avoiding getting impaled by shit. I mean, these levels kind of don't control great.
No.
And if you try to do 100% box completion, it is really hard, although...
those ones on the boulder ones, getting all the boxes is a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, although, admittedly, I think because I'm so used to the muscle memory of this game that the first time I tried those on our, the recent playthrough I did, just to kind of revise for the podcast, I did pretty well on those. I managed to get the gem first try, and I was really chuffed with myself, because I was like, hell fucking yeah.
I mean, I did a full playthrough of Crash Bandicoot in preparation for this podcast as well, and I didn't get a single crystal.
Oh, no.
It's not my forte.
I mean, that's fair. And also, you had to see it.
I had to know.
You wanted to get to the end. You weren't trying to do 100% completion.
I had stuff to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got a busy schedule.
I got a busy schedule. I got to talk about Crash Bandicoot 5 times every week.
Also, the more you see gems, the more it reminds you of the mines.
Yeah, and I want to have an escape from my work life,
Yeah.
So what's after Hogwild, Connor?
After Hogwild is a repetition of the Great Gate called Native Fortress. And
that one's fucking tough, man.
Yeah, this is the first proper difficulty spike, I think,
so
in
much
the game.
so that when you get to the end, they just give you 4 lives.
Yeah.
To be like, yeah, we know, buddy. We know it was tough.
Yeah, we get it. We need to get you ready for the rest of this afterwards.
Is this the one with the monkeys that rolling around the ground?
Yeah, you find them in the river levels too,
Yeah.
but they are just rolling around. There's fire geysers.
The man-eating plant, the fire geysers, the monkeys, the natives who put their shields over their heads. I fucking hate those guys.
Yeah.
They're so annoying to deal with.
Although there is a fun thing when you get to the top of it,
Yeah.
because unlike the Great Gate, you actually do get to the top of the wall on this one, is that there's a part of the background you can jump into and just walk past half of that part of the level, which I always do. And second of all is the nice background that overlooks the other 2 islands. It's like a really nice endpoint to know, okay, you're moving on to the next islands after this. Yeah. And it's really pretty with the pinks and purples.
Great sense of progression in Crash Bandicoot. It really feels like a journey.
It does feel like a journey. I really like it. That's something that distinguishes Crash 1 over 2 and 3 is the
because Crash 2 and 3 are just kind of all these levels are in completely different time zones and places. There's no connective tissue to any of them.
Yeah. I suppose we'll jump onto the second island now once
Fantastic.
you leave Native Fortress.
Which is funny because it doesn't end with a boss.
No.
Pabi Pabi was just in the middle of it.
Yeah. I mean, you get one more river level, which there isn't much to say about after the first one.
Yeah.
It's called Up the Creek, another pun.
I do like the variation between the man-eating plants, the black ones and the red ones, where the red ones bite on a pattern and the black ones bite when you jump on them.
Yeah. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Were they colored differently in your copy? Because...
Yeah, the ones that did that were black.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's because you played the Japanese version.
Not when I did my playthrough recently. I was playing the PS1 version.
Oh, that might be an emulation error because they're normally red and blue.
Weird.
Not black and red. Oh.
I wasn't emulating the game. I beat it on natural native hardware. I didn't use save states.
Oh no, the Sony police are coming.
Oh no.
For this game you don't sell anymore, jackass.
They own it. Microsoft owns it.
Oh. Phil Spencer! Buddy! Arrest that woman! Arrest her!
We like him because he says vaguely nice things and then closes a bunch of studios.
Yeah. Remember, he goes up on stage and says gaming. And
Gamers.
And then we all clap.
And he's wearing a fucking Shadow Hearts t-shirt. And we're all like, whoa, he's like one of us. He's just hit level cap in fucking Lord of the Rings Online. Just like you gamers.
He's not actually a CEO, he just plays games and they just put him out there.
I mean, with the way Microsoft's being run, I could believe that.
So then we move on to Ripperoo while we're talking about insanity.
Yes. Who is my greatest rival?
Yeah, this boss sucks.
It's just hard, man. I have to think about stuff and plan things rather than just doing it.
The thing is that if you dedicate enough time to memorizing how his patterns are,
commit yourself to studying the old scrolls.
It shouldn't be too hard to beat Ripperoo, but this is kind of when the perspective platforming starts to become an issue for me, because I will find I'll just plummet into the water.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
For context, Ripperoo's boss fight takes place on 9 platforms on top of a waterfall.
Yeah.
And these giant boxes of TNT are floating down it, so you want to jump on them to ignite them.
Yeah.
And then
because Ripperoo is like,
my strategy for defeating Crash is to jump randomly between these boxes forever.
He's not even going for you. He's
No.
just jumping randomly between them. He's not even really attacking you.
maybe he wasn't hostile. Maybe
I think isn't the whole point of Ripperoo that he's insane?
Yes.
So I guess it makes sense.
He's just a crazy guy.
He's like the Joker.
But yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle. But ultimately, and it's kind of a tedious one to go through Ripperoo's fight.
Yeah.
But
a lot of it is timing based as well, and I feel like it really slows the pace down.
Yeah. So it's like a very odd boss to open the island with.
Yeah,
really.
It is, yeah.
But that's when we get to the second big difficulty spike, the Lost City. I suppose it's supposed to be an Aboriginal island, but it looks like a Mayan temple. It looks like an Aztec.
Is this the one with the bats?
Yeah, this one I feel like is super distinct.
It is, yeah.
It's a 2D level. It's very brutal on its obstacles. It has these chameleons walking around. It has these bats that come on a sequence, which are always marked with 2 prime bats that seem to be going like, hey guys, come on over here,
yeah.
hey. And then a big swarm flies between them.
Yeah, and you can stop the swarm by killing both the bats, but when you've killed the second bat, you're past where they were swarming anyway, so it doesn't actually really achieve anything.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you could go back and get some boxes that you missed, but...
No, exactly. And I think both of these levels are ones where you unlock color gems rather than regular ones because they're that hard. There's differences in the Japanese version, but we'll get to those. And
just to address the rumors, we won't be talking about the German version.
The German version?
Stop asking.
Wait 1 second. Let me check the manual real quick for the Deutsch. Yeah, we got Deutsch.
Yeah, it's a European manual, so it's going to have all the fucking languages.
Willkommen auf der anderen Seite des... I probably
Boy.
mispronounced half of those.
Yeah.
I think I do like these levels a lot.
Me too.
I think they're super cool. But we then get onto another type of ruin level, a very different kind.
Is this the actual city, like when you're in the dark?
Yes, this is the Temple Ruins.
Reminds me of Resident Evil 5.
It actually does.
Yeah.
It's same color palette as well. It's got the piss filter over it.
But Crash was a real innovator of that kind of aesthetic.
At this point, we go from being in generally outside environments where things, might have a bit of atmospheric lighting to it, but it's generally relatively
Natural
vibrant
lighting,
and
yeah.
luscious, yeah. And then we're just plunged into fucking darkness.
I love the vibe of this level, though.
Yeah, this one's so cool.
It's got like a menace to it that I think really makes it stand out.
Yeah, there's like cobras coming out of the floor,
Spiders descending from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, the level is only being lit by braziers that you have to jump over to proceed.
Yeah, and like these big like crushing sort of like
they even have the
things.
classic like arrow traps.
They do, yeah. It's very Indiana Jones.
It is, yeah.
I do really like these ones. These are super cool.
Me too.
And then
Like might be my favorite level template in Crash 1.
Yeah, I was thinking about it and I think it's up there.
Yeah.
It definitely is. But then we get to another difficulty spike, one that was infamous in the remake.
Is this the high road?
This is the road to nowhere.
The road to nowhere.
We're on a road to nowhere.
Which I like these levels, even though they are bullshit, because
Yeah.
they are the most demanding for precision. Because basically the road to nowhere and the high road, is that the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are bridges that span mountain ranges, basically. And most of the planks in the bridge have been broken, so you have to really delicately control Crash as you jump over these platforms, because some of them will break when you jump on them, some of them will make you slip. There's a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah, we kind of go back to regular 3D platforming with these, and as a result, the perspective tricks are... It's difficult to manage on top of all the falling platforms.
Yeah.
Also, your friends...
Fucking goat.
No, it's the pig.
The pig, whatever. He's a goat pig. He's a pig goat. He's a monster. He's not of this earth. I'll tell you that much for free. Like those levels demand so much tight precision that you have to plan for. But then they were like, what if there's a fucking goat pig going backwards and forwards the entire time, who's invincible for some reason?
From now on, I will call wild boars goat pigs. From
Goat
now
pigs.
because that's a good name for them.
50 to 100 goat pigs. Yeah.
That's why give Crash an AR-15 and
like,
see how he does.
Navigating between these planks for me is the peak of the game feel of this game because it feels so tight. It feels like you have so much control over the way Crash falls.
Yeah.
But then the goat's there and it's like, great, thanks.
Yeah, well, he's vengeful.
He is.
Given that we rode him earlier in the game without asking first, and so he was just like, I'm going to fucking kill you. And that thing is invincible.
Yeah, that thing can't die.
You can't kill it, you can't jump on it, you can't spin it away.
Honestly, I think it's a game design snafu.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason why it's invincible, and you've been able to kill every other enemy in the game thus far.
Yeah, it's just to make the level harder.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But
It feels cheap.
Yeah, it's just other than that level's vibe is immaculate, and
It's the level that most reminds me of a Spyro level.
Oh yeah,
I can imagine in the distance you can see Spyro flying between loading screens, you know?
Yeah, you can actually see the third island in the distance.
Oh, you can say you can see Spyro, I was going to be so excited. But
that would have been
that
great.
wouldn't make any sense.
Same character designer as Crash.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's when we get to the second and last boulder level, Boulder Dash.
Boulder Dash.
It's
kind of crazy to think there's only 2 of those levels in the first Crash game.
Yeah. I like this one more just because there's a bit more going on with it.
I think it demands more of you as well.
Yeah, I think that's the funniest contrast between the names, where Boulder Dash, it's a pun.
Yeah.
And that kind of sets the foundation for most of the Crash level names going forward. But the first one is just fucking called Boulders.
They should have called the first level crabs.
Crab. We got jungle rollers. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Crabs, jungle rollers, the Great Gate. Wait a minute. These are sounding upstream. Oh yeah, hold on a second.
I mean, on the first level, you're only on a beach for like 1 second.
So it really should be called Insanity Slope.
Yeah.
But after this is Sunset Vista, the second of those Lost City levels, and
and the eggs here are really hard to get.
Is this a
there's
Spyro
it sounds like a Spyro level, doesn't it? Sunset Vistas.
I wouldn't mind that kind of crossover.
Yeah.
But, Spyro and Crash did have a crossover that we don't talk about.
And yet you don't talk about Crash Team Rumble.
That's the other one that we don't talk about. Sunset Vista is basically just the Lost City, but it has, once again, this immaculate watercolor
the sun is setting. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I quite like that level a lot. It's fucking tough as nails, but they're great. And then we get to Koala Kong, third boss of the game. Fucking sucks.
Is he the one who throws shit at you and you got to hit him back?
Yeah, he's in a mine.
Yeah, and there's like dynamite falling from the ceiling, right?
Yeah, I swear that's only there to make the level harder, because otherwise it's every time he throws something, you just jump.
Yeah.
You just jump over him. And then he'll pick up a real big boulder and he'll be like, oh, you better get ready. This one will crush you. And you just spin it back at him and he takes damage.
And he's like, well, time to do that 5 more times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he does it like 4 times, I think.
And there are no checkpoints in these bosses. They go on if you die.
You get given 2 Aku Aku masks for free at the very least.
You do.
It's
Although I feel like that's an admission that they know the boss fights are kind of bullshit.
Yeah. I think the only real good gimmick I'd say about that level is that the minecarts in front of him will block the boulders you spin back.
I do like that.
Which is at least a little bit of depth. But otherwise,
adds a little bit of precision to it.
It's currently a pretty weak showing on bosses from Crash Bandicoot 1.
No.
We then get to the third island, the Cortex Island.
What do you think about the premise? Sorry for a tangent here. That Balan Wonderworld has the best boss fights of any platformer we've played. Because the Crash ones suck, the Spyro ones suck. The Balan ones were okay.
I think the last 2 bosses of Crash 1 are better than any of the Balan ones.
Alright.
But that's again not a high bar. We're just in for a rough time when it comes to boss fights. I think.
No.
Best boss fights across all the games, probably Resident Evil 4, I guess.
You didn't even like the boss fights of Resident Evil 4.
But we get to the third island, and you immediately...
This is the final island, right?
The final island, and you immediately get thrust into a drastically different environment from the other 2, where you are immediately plonked into a facility.
Yeah, into industrial hell world.
Yeah, this is a level called Heavy Machinery. It starts with a few little bopping tunes as you jump around. There's security cameras floating about. There's weird robots that I can't quite make out what they're supposed to be.
There's that great screen of Cortex where he's just bobbing backwards and forwards with a really neutral expression.
In fucking Generator Room. Yeah. That's the third one on this island. I fucking love Generator Room.
Yeah.
But Heavy Machinery is a perfectly competent 2D level to kind of break up the 3D ones that you'd otherwise be doing afterwards.
And it's a huge switch up aesthetically, which is really cool at that part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We then get to Cortex Power, the second level on that third island, which might be my favorite. It's
like level or
like favorite level, yeah. I think because it's the one I used to like revisiting a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
For starters, it's the only level besides from the bosses and Insanity Beach that has a cutscene at the beginning. It shows a big sign saying Cortex Power, the big doorway into a massive facility as it pans down. And it shows just how small Crash is compared to this wider industrial world.
It's like the shot from FF7 where Cloud's looking up at the Shimmer Tower.
Yes, it's exactly like that. They're definitely on par. Again, Naughty Dog made this game. Cinematic masterpiece.
100%. But it is a good introduction.
Yeah. It's got a lot of split paths. There's a mixture of different obstacles where it's like pools of like green radioactive goo, burning hot pipes.
Because those dumb scientists who are just throwing vials at you.
Yeah. There's one thing that's only in this level, which is you have these mobster portaloos that you find at the end of corridors that just shoot guns at you and laugh.
I forgot about these guys.
Yeah, that like you can go through the level without seeing them once. Because
I think I must have done. I don't remember anyone shooting at me.
Yeah, because there's like split paths, and it's just like, oh fuck.
Oh, it's gotten real now.
Oh shit. And what bamboozles me is why the fuck isn't this the first level of the third island?
Well, because it has the intro cutscene and everything.
It has a cutscene.
Like, it establishes the aesthetic switch.
Yeah. And like, given that Sunset Vista was like a 2D level, you do a boss, and then you do another 2D level. Like, you go 3D, 2D, 3D, 2D. It would make more sense.
That makes sense, right?
But I quite like it. It's a bit of a pain to 100%, but...
And I wouldn't say the progression in this game always feels even, either. Like, I feel like you just kind of go back and forwards, and it switches quite dramatically throughout the levels.
Oh, exactly, yeah. But then you get to Generator Room. With the fucking TVs with Cortex just, like, swaying into
back
the
and
camera.
forth with a really dull expression. I sent you a video about it when I was playing through it the other day. So I was just like, what's he doing?
Yeah, I like your query, which was that, is Cortex doing this live?
Yeah, or is it a GIF that he's just playing over and over? Because, like, in the first room, there's, like, 2 of these screens next to each other as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the point of this, Cortex?
Is it just... This is why I think he'd do a Wilsonian 1984... not Wilsonian. An Orwellian 1984...
Wilsonian? What is it, the 14 points of democracy?
No, I'm thinking because Wilson's the name of the... Winston is the main character of...
No, we're getting Woodrow Wilson in this one.
Woodrow Wilson, that's our president for this episode.
There you go. Enjoy it. That's one we haven't done before, so...
Ah, there we go. But then afterwards, we get to another really tough level. To be fair, Generator Room is tough.
I think every level on the third island is pretty tough, honestly.
It is. Generator Room gets people a lot with the perspective issue again, as well as these quite slow platforms. Some of the platforms are like diagonal as well. They go into the foreground diagonally, and that's like...
Is this the first level with those guys with the thunder gloves who like push you back?
Oh no, that's really far into the end of the game, shockingly.
Well,
shockingly.
If we had done this last week, I would have known.
Because it's electricity.
No.
We then get to Toxic Waste, which is...
Finally, Toxic Waste.
Which feels like a perfect inverse of the boulder levels where you're running into an obstacle rather than running away from it.
Yeah, that's the one where it's like Donkey Kong, right? Where people are throwing barrels.
Yeah, you get these mobsters that are throwing barrels at you the whole time.
One of my few memories of the first time we played this game is that I remember having a lot of trouble with this level.
Yeah.
Because the timing is quite tight.
Yeah, but it's playing this fucking bopping music.
Oh,
this
yeah,
industrial,
yeah.
like...
I love the music on the third island. It's so motivating.
It really is. And I think the first half of it's kind of fine enough.
Yeah.
It's easy enough. But then you get to the fucking bouncing barrels.
Oh, those bouncing barrels. And I'm not sure if this is just more proof that we're complete morons. You can't calculate things in real time. But just the way they bounce always messes up my head.
I've watched many people play Crash Bandicoot 1.
Me. Others.
Yeah, there's like YouTube Let's Players, family and friends and...
Loved ones.
Loved ones.
But they stopped being loved ones after this level, I'll tell you that for free.
Well, yeah, because this is something that bounces, but in a 2D game, you could kind of figure out the pattern a lot easier on something that bounces. When it's coming towards you, you don't know how fucking far away it is.
Especially since the barrels that follow and precede it are rolling naturally. It kind of messes up your perspective somehow.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's a really hard level.
And like sometimes you have to like get through 3 barrels before getting to the next save point. So you have to really know exactly what you're doing. And if you pause for a moment, you're screwed.
Yeah, I think this is the second hardest level in the game. I would like it more if that wasn't so bullshit. But I think it's really distinct. It's a one of a kind.
Yeah.
A lot of level themes repeat over Crash 1, but there's only a few that are unique, and that's like Insanity Beach, Toxic Waste.
Hell yeah.
And then like Slippery Climb and
should have
the
called
lab.
The remake Crash Bandicoot Toxic Waste Trilogy.
The hell yeah.
Oh yeah, girl.
Just turn the entire game into Toxic Waste the level.
Dude, that'd be a game right there.
So who's behind all this toxic waste that's being pulled out of this factory? Cortex? Well, kinda, but there's a middleman beneath him.
He's got agents, yeah.
Yeah, the head of the Portaroo mob, Pinstripe Portaroo.
Oh, God.
Pinstripe Portaroo is a Portaroo mobster.
Yeah.
He has a fucking Tommy gun. He shoots Crash Bandicoot in the fucking face. And he
It's really effective.
While Crash cowers behind his furniture. And this boss fight is really lame. He just
kind of a pattern, if you ask me.
He just shoots for a bit, and then while he's walking to his next point or trying to like unjam his gun, you can spin at him, and then he spins around in a circle and goes, and then he starts shooting you again.
Honestly, even though this level is so simple, I always have the most difficult time with it because it's so chaotic. I don't think it's going to be that simple.
No,
I'm always like, oh geez, I'm like in a war zone, and I'm having to react super quickly, even though it's so easy to do.
Yeah, I think that's the endearing part of it, is that it just feels so chaotic.
Also, that level starts and he is shooting at you minute 1. He doesn't like begin. He's just immediately firing at you.
Yeah, it cuts directly to him firing at you. He's got a window looking onto a bunch of toxic waste in the background.
So he can keep an eye on his work. You know?
Yeah, so on his beautiful radiation that probably gave him his attitude and his brain, you know.
His ability to run a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what stocks he holds, but I like to think he's a Wolf of Wall Street kind of guy. But once you beat him, you are left back on the high road, which we kind of discussed before. I feel like we've already kind of covered it with Road to Nowhere.
But now you get planks with ice on them.
Oh,
that make you slippery.
Yeah, no, like adding ice physics onto that is so much
And you've also
worse.
got to like bounce off of turtles to make certain gaps as well.
Yeah, whenever you jump onto a turtle, it will go back into its shell and become a bounce pad.
Yeah.
So you want to do that when they're near the edge.
Yeah,
so
because if not, you've fucked yourself.
Yeah, effectively.
There's no way of getting over that jump.
And it takes them a while for them to come out of their shells again.
They're shy.
They're very shy.
They're so nervous.
Little guys.
Yeah, they're just little guys trying their best.
Yeah.
But and they're turtles in the mountains.
It's got to be cold for them.
Must be tough for them.
They're cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Cortex does not care for what he does with his animals, does he?
He has no regard for nature's laws.
I think we should call up an environmental agency or something. I think finally bring him down. But then we get to the hardest level in the game, in my opinion.
The Great Hall?
Yeah, that level's so hard. Oh, believe me. Oh my god. No. Slippery fucking climb.
Slippery climb is such bullshit.
A one of a kind that did have a sister level that had to get removed from the game because it was considered too hard.
Also too bullshit.
Yeah.
What's that one called?
Stormy Ascent.
Stormy Ascent.
Awkwardly, despite the name, doesn't have ice physics on it, but it is set on the walls of Cortex's castle during a big
raining.
Yeah, in a big rainstorm. But it has
great vibe.
It's such a great vibe, immaculate atmosphere. The pouring rain. There's like vultures flying around.
There's like prisoners who are like getting their long gangly hands out of gaps in their windows to grab at Crash.
Yeah,
and it's like, what's those guys' stories?
Well, to me, I always envisioned them as being weird lizard mutant creatures because you only see their little sharp yellow eyes and their clawy hands.
Yeah,
and then and they as they're like reaching out for the scraps of anything, really.
Yeah, to eat Crash whole.
Exactly. I think it is kind of almost a Stockholm syndrome thing, but I love this level.
You have to spend so much time there.
Yeah. I think, just as a correction from before, I think this is the first time you get the lab guys throwing test tubes. I think it's on this level.
Embarrass me on stream.
On stream.
Yeah, live on stream.
Yeah. But at which point, we then get to Lights Out. A level shrouded in complete darkness. So this is a bit of a gimmick. A lot of people don't like this one.
I like it.
I like it too.
Because it forces you to be quick.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, the premise of this one is that Aku Aku masks now, they light up the room. You have to collect them, and they only light up for a limited amount of time.
I will make the point that there are Donkey Kong Country levels that are just this.
Yes, there are, with the,
the stop and go ones.
The stop and go ones, yeah. They're a lot like this. So that concept's probably pulled straight from it, but this is in like the 3D context. You have those big old rats crawling through the darkness with their big red eyes.
But what's appealing about it is that even if you don't reach the next Aku Aku light before your current light goes out, you still can get through the level if you're lucky enough.
Yeah, it's a real fumble in the dark.
And it's tense as well. It's like, oh, am I going to get there?
Yeah. But one funny quirk about it is that although you get a lot of platforms into nothingness, the sides of the level you can actually stand on.
Yeah, you can do that on a few levels and it ruins the gimmicks. Because you can just stand there and just suck him. It's almost as if they weren't expecting that to happen in 3D. Like they didn't understand that if they have platforms, you could just jump on them and have collision on them.
I actually think it's an endearing gimmick. Because I think a lot of other developers would make a game like this and they'd go, no, this is entirely scene dressing. Make that an invisible wall. Don't let anyone in. This is a path.
Yeah.
But this lets you, if you want to be bold enough to just be like, I'm just going to be on the curb. Because some people are crazy people who fucking stand on the ropes on the bridge in Road to Nowhere. Like, you can do that technically. But it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
We then get to Jaws of Darkness, which is Temple Ruins again. Pretty much, we've already kind of covered our bases there. And at which point we go to, and I actually might be getting this out of order here.
Now, you can't believe you'd make a factual error. I never would.
The second to last boss, Dr. Embryo, your father, the creator of the Evolvo Ray.
One of my two gay dads.
One of your two gay scientist dads. And he has an enormous health bar, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing here?
Hold the fuck up.
The game's gotten real.
He's throwing test tubes at you. They explode. You're like, oh, fucking Christ. How do I hurt you, Dad? I can't bring myself to do it.
I can't rebel against you, Father.
And then he'll throw another one. It'll make a little green slime guy that jumps at you. And you jump on that and you squish it and you notice his health bar goes down and you go, oh, this is the gimmick.
Yeah, until it's not.
Yeah, you do that for a while and you kind of crush a bunch of these blobs and it's like, okay, I mean, that's fair. Yeah. He's going to do it one more time and I'll be fine. He then drinks one of his potions and he becomes the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he becomes a huge buff dude.
And this is another, whoa, oh my god. And he starts bashing his fists at you. Rubble comes from the ceiling as he's breaking the castle around you.
Yeah.
Which is actually just a little way to leg up to stand on it and then jump on his head.
Yeah, which I didn't realize for the longest time. When I was doing my playthrough last week, I thought you had to like wait until he went back to being small. Yeah. So I kept trying to like get around him, been failing every time and never realizing that you had to jump onto the thing to jump on him.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's fair. It's just really funny because you just do that 3 times in a really quick succession and he falls over and he dies.
No.
And I like this boss the most because it's unexpected. It's a little easy.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I think it's a fun gimmick.
I think so too.
We then get to a repeat of Heavy Machinery, which is just called Castle Machinery. The main thing I can say about it is that if you've unlocked the green gem, which if you get a coloured gem, it produces a unique platform in the levels that take you to secret bits where you can get more lives and break more boxes. It's essential for 100%. If you have the green gem and Castle Machinery, you just get led into this corridor with 40 lives that takes you straight to the end.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
You can skip the entire level.
Victory lap there.
By doing that.
What's the one where you're going, it's like going up into a corridor one where you have to keep pressing these buttons to make platforms appear or doors open?
That's the next level.
Okay.
The lab.
Where
you
have to get the 3 keys to activate the self-destruct sequence, and then you have to kill Wesker, and then you're out of there. Yeah.
Oh, if Cortex was a Wesker-style villain, I would have been so on board with that.
Like he's pointing to Crash in a big test tube, and he's like, "It's beautiful, isn't it? It's a perfect creation."
I mean, Embryo's kind of like that. Embryo is a Resident Evil villain. He injects himself with his little virus and becomes a big Hulk monster. But the lab is quite interesting. It's a similar setup to Lights Out, but instead of it having the darkness gimmick, it's got those switches to open up platforms and open doors. And it is quite tough.
Although, once again, it's one of those levels where you can stand on the sides of the level to circumvent some of the more difficult gimmicks.
Yeah. This is also when you get those electric guys we were talking about before. They're Cortex's henchmen with these electric pads in their hands, and you're supposed to kind of like spin them away into the background to knock them off a platform. And when they do, they scream. They have like this blood-curdling scream as they plummet into the floor.
I just never got the timing right on those guys because their lightning gloves turning on has no tell. It just happens.
Yeah,
I could never get it right.
Like, I just get lucky, I think, on those.
And I think the fact as well that they only appear once in the entire game means I never learn their routine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's on repeat playthroughs, you're just like, oh, fuck, these fucking guys. And then we get to perhaps the true, actually hardest level in the entire game, the Great Hall. So you jump over a little gap and then you get to the end.
Yeah. I was so confused when I was playing this last week. I was like, that was it?
And the reason why it's like that?
It's because if you've got the collectibles, right, you get like different routes.
Yeah, so I mentioned about the coloured gem platforms before. In this level, if you've collected every single gem, even the basic ones, they become platforms that take you further into the level to get a secret ending.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that secret ending.
Oh yeah. We don't want to spoil it just yet.
The final boss, Dr. Neo Cortex, who... It's confusing how this has happened. You're on top of his blimp.
Yeah.
The castle is on fire somehow.
Yeah.
And
it happened in the Great Hall. You just missed it.
Yeah. Crash pours a bunch of gasoline and like lights a match.
Yeah. And he like throws it behind him as he walks out the castle. He's pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, he's actually like a real badass. He's either that or it's like a Mr. Bean series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, that just bumbles his way into setting the castle on fire. Torna burns to death.
Oh god. Cortex comes out on his little hoverboard and he goes, "Darn you, Crash Bandicoot!" and he starts shooting you with little lasers. Some of them are like ones you got to jump over and another.
Yeah.
But then he just keeps making these green ones that you can spin back at him, and it's like, Cortex, buddy, when will you
stop firing the green ones, dummy?
You're a smart man. Or was Embryo the real brains the whole time?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
Well, Neo Cortex has a really big head, which implies that he's got a lot of intelligence.
Yeah. And then he plummets to his doom. As you
never to be seen again.
Yeah, off to the end, and then Torna is just on top of the Zeppelin with Crash, hugs him. He smiles at the camera,
and she's like, take me out of this franchise, Crash.
Yeah, she doesn't.
She never appears again.
Yeah, she's gone. They just fly off into the sunset, never to be appeared. But what about the secret ending? There's got to be a better ending than
you win and go home.
Well, simply put, you get to the very end, and
do you have to fight Cortex again?
No, you don't.
Really?
You just jump over to the end. Torna is riding on a vulture, and you fly off with her. And it has like a little like, where are they now of every boss in the game as the credits roll.
And where are they all now?
They're all like doing like funky jobs where it's like Pinstripe Porteroo became the CEO of a major corporation and Koala Kong has become part of the WWF.
Well, I'm glad all the villains got theirs.
And then Cortex is like, Cortex is still at large somewhere and maybe one day we'll get him again.
Yeah. I like how you're doing like a 1920s newscaster voice for it.
I think it's appropriate.
Yeah. You could win a washer dryer.
A washer dryer. Did they have those in the 20s?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about technology. Well, you know what the awkward thing about this Crash?
What's the awkward thing about this Crash Bandicoot game?
The awkward thing about this Ash Bandicoot is that we're only halfway through the itinerary.
Whoa!
And I think I need to take a break so I can have a piss.
So we can talk about No Cocos, Torna's Big Tanners.
I'm going to stop for a second. I think one thing that's worth highlighting is we haven't really talked much about how this game looks, and I think that's quite crucial to why, like,
I think we've kind of given little hints here and there.
Yeah.
Like, talking about how it coheres together might be useful.
Yeah. I think, for starters, we've sort of briefly mentioned that every character's been designed to be angular and fit with the PlayStation polygonal style. And I think they're great character designs.
Me too. I mean, no one more than Crash signifies this, because he's just he's like one triangle with arms and legs.
He is. They got to a console that you have to make everything out of triangles. And they were, well, fuck it.
I also really like how even his CG render is still that. Like, obviously it's prettied up, but it's still just, he's a triangle boy.
Yeah. I mean, in general, he's just full of character. Like, he kind of like jumps up and excited when he's gone through a level without dying. He wipes the sweat off his brow when he's like gone through a tough level.
Yeah, he's very, very endearing. He's got a lot of charm.
It's beautifully animated. I think that it's awkward because the human characters look the most robotic and stilted in this.
They
for
do, yeah.
what little you can see of them. But it's oozing with personality.
It is, yeah. I could take or leave Torna. She's just like bodacious in a way that's confusing. She's wearing like booty shorts and like a tank top.
Well, there's a reason she did not come back. Honestly, we make the DKC comparison a lot, but she is just
like
kind
Candy
of
Kong,
she is Candy Kong.
Yeah. I want to get in her barrel.
Whoa!
I feel dirty now.
All right. Let's not say something we'll regret here. But I think in general, the presentation of this game is something that's quite crucial to its personality. I mean, we've gone through every level's general theme, but like I really want to emphasize just how atmospheric they are.
Yeah.
There's the quite serene sort of natural levels, but then there's the quite imposing darkness that kind of permeates a lot of the ruin levels and a lot of the castle levels that really fit the tone of this like surprisingly deep environmental message.
You know what I like a lot about the factory and the industrial levels? Is that it feels like the lighting stops being natural and feels artificial. So it feels colder than the other levels, you know?
Yeah, I think Generator Room's a really good example of that.
Yeah.
I think that one's probably my favorite for atmosphere and not so much for platforming. But you get something like the Temple Ruins. I think that lighting really carries those levels super well.
It's like the soft flickering of a flame in the darkness, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds silly to talk about this platformer like that, but that's honestly what the levels feel like, you know?
Yeah, same in a lot of ways with things like the Sunset Vista, the Lost Temple, like that kind of thing.
I think it's in the kind of aesthetic as well that you couldn't do on a NES or a SNES.
No.
I don't think you could have that level of nuanced lighting.
No, not in lighting-wise. You could try and capture the colours with pixel art, but you'd have to be really thorough.
I think you could make a facsimile, but it's not as easy to do as it is here.
Yeah. I'm just now imagining a version of this game that does the pre-rendered silicon graphics thing that DKC does.
Oh, the rasterization,
yeah. And I can kind of see it, given that this is another game set in a jungle that, you know, has this industrial element to it.
I think it would be a lesser version of it, though. I think even though we talk about this game as being quite a homage to Donkey Kong Country, I still feel like it needs to be on a PlayStation for it to work as well as it does.
This is a fucking PlayStation game. This is the PlayStation game to me. I know that there are...
It's no Vagrant Story, but... it's no Cold Delca.
I know there's a lot of contenders.
Yeah,
It entirely depends on preference, you know?
For me, it's Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
That's not my favorite PlayStation game, but that is a very PlayStation-y game.
It's a very strong contender. I'd say that, Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot, and maybe something like Ridge Racer, I think could be like 4 pillars.
Yeah, the 4 pillars.
I guess also, then you got fucking Parappa the Rapper over there that's, doing his own thing.
Doing his weird thing.
But I think a big part of this sort of atmosphere as well is the musical element.
Yeah, all composed by Stuart Copeland.
No, Ash, that's the other guy. That's
Was that Croc?
No, that's the other lizard. Wrong reptile. Purple one.
Skylanders.
Barney the Dino.
I got you. I've destroyed you.
You beat my joke with a much better one.
That was a Death Note-esque mental battle there.
The music in this game, again, much like a Donkey Kong Country, is...
Well, Elvis is appearing on this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, he composed...
It's quite the get.
I composed the Crash Bandicoot soundtrack.
Oh yeah? Tell me about your process.
Well, I was wandering along, and I met some nerds. They told me about this orange guy called Crash Bandicoot. This episode is going to have like 3 different contenders for worst impression. It's honestly impressive.
I'm going to nominate worst guy, Connor.
The music, but like Donkey Kong Country,
yes,
this game's music is very understated. It's very atmospheric and it's quite quiet. And I really like it for that. It lets those... I don't think I properly elaborated on those 2 types of levels I was talking about. One of them, which is the kind of serene Zen level that you get in stuff like Upstream. And the other type of level in Crash Bandicoot is like the platforming gauntlet.
Yeah,
and I think that's best summarized with Toxic Waste. It's got the thrumming tune, it's got the tough as nails platforming, and I like those as 2 polar opposite levels.
Me too.
I think musically that's reflected.
Yeah.
I think this game knows when to make its music zany, when to really pull out the marimba and make that kind of iconic song that you get from Insanity Beach.
Yeah, yeah.
And it knows when to be imposing and kind of scary at times.
Yeah, the 3rd level island songs I think are all bangers. They're all really memorable tracks.
They're really fucking good. Generator Room just got like the bum 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 bum. And then you get to like the lab, Toxic Waste, you get like Castle Machinery.
I definitely get the sense this is one of the soundtracks that you could probably recite from memory entirely.
100%.
Yeah.
This is engraved onto my brain like a little robot has just like lasered that on.
This has been etched into the very being of your soul.
Nothing is making me forget Insanity Beach.
No, 100%.
That's my Omaha.
That's your Omaha.
Like as a child, the amount of times I was throwing Crash against that crab, that was about the same amount of casualties as Omaha. I don't mean to make light of that event.
Oh, they're all dead.
That is true.
It's like 5 of those guys.
They died on Omaha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
You could really call that an N Sane Beach.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Is Crash Bandicoot an allegory for the Second World War?
Find out. No, it's not. It's about a guy jumping.
Yeah, it's about a little guy jumping.
Yeah.
If Crash Bandicoot was part of the Allies, how quickly do you think the war would have ended?
Very, very much the same. Because he would have walked into a turtle and died.
Well, that's why you got to keep him on the European front where there's no turtles.
Oh, if he touches anything, man, he's out like a light. Like, he's not very durable.
Yeah, but then he'll come back. He'll go whoosh.
I'll keep coming.
And he'll run over and he'll spin a bunch of Germans.
Well, how many lives does he have?
I mean, he'll find them around. He'll find little boxes with his face on them around Europe.
You know, during the Normandy invasions and fucking there's a bunch of crash heads everywhere. People are like, what are these?
Conker's Bad Fur Day, coming soon.
No, it's not. That's not coming soon. That's not coming ever.
We haven't got that. Not on the list yet.
Don't make promises we can't keep.
Hey, now's not the time to be pulling out the Halo references. That's another episode coming up. Halo 2, get ready for that one.
We've not even done a Halo episode yet.
There we will. It's coming up.
I know we will, but no one knows that.
Oh god, this really is going to be a repeat of our first recording session.
No, it's beautiful and perfect now.
So Ash,
what's up?
According to my notes,
yep,
you have been learning Japanese.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Shut up.
But there's, as far as I understand it, both from your hands-on experience and also from my own experience, there are a lot of differences between the Japanese and Western versions of this game.
It's true. I thought I'd take a moment to try and play the Japanese version of this game so I could immerse myself in the local culture of Japanese lore, which is playing Crash Bandicoot in Japanese. And I discovered while doing so that this version of the game is quite different in a lot of ways. The biggest difference being that every time you pick up an Aku Aku mask, you get a tutorial. You get a big wall of text written entirely in hiragana, which is just being like, hey, Crash, those turtles will snap if you jump on them. Don't do that. You also start every level with an Aku Aku mask, just by default.
Okay.
And in some levels, particularly upstream, the platforms have been made much bigger.
Yeah.
In the sense that they've literally taken the geometry and just made them bigger in a level editor, and they look stretched and weird. Like, it's really weird to look at.
Oh my god.
Crash also talks more.
Oh, he might.
Yeah. When you start a level, he goes, "Ikaso!" which means let's go.
He's a little verbose little guy.
Yeah. He's saying all kinds of stuff.
Whereas I'm used to him saying only "whoa."
Yeah.
For his whole life.
His entire life is all he knows.
We don't talk about Crash of the Titans. It's odd because I feel like the stereotype that permeated the sort of cultural sphere for a while is that the Japanese are the hardcore gamers. They're the ones that get the harder versions of the games. Their Mario 2 is a Mario 2 that fucks.
Yeah.
None of that Doki Doki Panic bullshit.
Doki. It's weird because I think the difference is when you start getting into 3D with platformers, and there was a conception that the Japanese would struggle with that. Because they made Spyro a lot easier as well.
Yeah, well, Spyro was easier in some ways and harder than others. The camera change completely gimped it.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing, is that they aren't so used to using camera dual controls for doing camera stuff. Like in a lot of RPGs, you can move the camera by pressing the shoulder buttons instead, because that's easier for them.
Yeah. That's weird, because Spyro's camera was like that.
Nah.
But they changed. Yeah, it's
Who knows? I mean, these are all individual decisions being made by different companies based on what they expect the Japanese market will actually like.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't try and read too much like consistency into them, because they're different companies doing different things. But it is a strange change. You're right.
I think a lot of game fans, especially from games of this era, probably were more used to games that were originally made in Japan that got adapted to the West, whereas this is the exact opposite.
Yeah, it is.
They went through a lot of efforts to make sure that Crash would appeal more to the Japanese market. I mean, one thing in particular is they took out his fucking teeth in a lot of the... Like, they rounded him off and made him a lot more sort of... fluffier, I suppose.
There's a lot of really good Japanese adverts for Crash as well. He's like in a Japanese school.
Yeah. There's just a guy in a massive Crash suit, and I love it so much. I want that. I want that.
Everyone's
suit.
like, "All right, please rise, do the roll, cool." And it's Crash doing it, and it's like, "This is stupid."
It's so good.
Yeah.
I really like it. Like it did surprisingly well in Japan.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I mean, the PS1 was huge, so and they made an effort to reach that market. So
yeah. I think one thing I do know is that the levels are put a bit more out of order in Crash 1 in Japan.
Yeah.
Like, Sunset Vista is on the third island because of its difficulty. So they kind of like shuffled
reordered a few things, yeah.
Yeah, which was an interesting change.
Yeah. I believe the where you say Crash it's Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot.
I might be wrong, but I think that's right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot. I just remember that fucking song in those adverts. Crash Bandicoot. That should be the outro theme.
100% for the Crash anime.
Because I can't just make it like little river music, like boom boom.
Oh, you mean for the podcast?
Yeah, for the podcast. just make that outro music for the podcast.
I mean, is the intro going to be?
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
How can it not?
That has to be so.
I think the biggest mistake I made is that at the beginning of the podcast, I didn't scream like he does on the title screen.
God, I'm too tired for this level of excitement.
I've always got this excitement for Crash Bandicoot.
100%.
I channel his energy.
Yeah, just you wait until we're at the end of Crash to Insanity, and I'm just here like, he jumps, and you're like, Ash, no, come on, let's get into it.
There's ants. Come on. That's Crash Bandicoot 1 for the most part in its thoroughness, but there is a large elephant in the room, and it won't leave.
Please send help.
Can someone help us? Yeah, it's fucking
blocking the door.
It's fucking with the recording setup.
Yeah. That's why we couldn't finish the other 2 episodes.
And that elephant keeps passing over this copy of the N Sane Trilogy to me.
Now we're in my world, where I can be like, this remake is fine, but it changes things enough that I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
Look forward to Silent Hill 2.
This is the thing. About 20 years after Crash 1 came out, it got remastered in the N Sane Trilogy, which is a remake of the first 3 games, put on the PlayStation 4 and later on into...
2017, I believe it came out.
Yeah, 2017. And
during the Year of Dreams.
The Year of Dreams. It was a packed year, 2017. And it did really well. In fact, because that remake has come out, it's become a lot harder to find the original game on modern platforms. In fact, it's not on modern platforms.
No, not at all. No. There is no way to play the original Crash games on any hardware younger than the PS3.
Yeah. And let's get ready for some bullshit, because I feel like a lot of people expect this kind of conversation about remakes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Remakes can never be one-to-one with the original game. That's always going to happen.
Yeah, but in terms of like the recent spat of remakes, especially PS1 remakes, on the scale from like a remaster to FF7 remake, the Crash N Sane Trilogy is like way closer to, it's just a remaster with prettier graphics and a new game, basically.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same levels, it's the same bosses, it's a lot of the same content, just with different visuals and other things that we'll get into.
It's very close to the original. But the thing is...
ever so slightly different in ways that irritate us.
Yeah. One of the big controversies around it when it sort of originally came out was the fact that the hitboxes are very different on it.
Yeah.
And I did actually play the N Sane Trilogy for this podcast just to get a comparison point. And what I often found was, I think my first death came with Rifaru when I initially tried it. That's like 12 levels in.
Impressive, yeah.
My first death in the remake came on like the Great Gate because of, and I think it is because of a hitboxing. I could be going mad because I imagine it's one of those things that should have really been patched. It might have been patched.
I don't think it ever was.
No?
No, I don't think so.
But like normally Crash's hitbox in the original was a square, which is good because it means that when you get to those kind of awkward, like just about to make it jumps, you'll kind of snap to just about make it, and that makes it a little bit less bullshit.
Yeah.
Whereas the N Sane Trilogy, Crash Bandicoot's hitbox is like a capsule. It's like a pill shape.
Yeah. So if you don't connect right, you will slide off of boxes.
Yeah. And that makes some levels a lot harder than you would expect, and it changes the way that you would otherwise interact with the world and the levels. And I didn't have that happen as much as I expected to.
Yeah.
I got about halfway through the game. I said, fine enough. I even played a bit of Stormy Ascent, and that level's hard.
Yeah. It sure is. I do think it's really important to point out the fact that the hitboxes are a lot as good as they used to be, because one of the issues with this remake is that it came out, and a lot of people who are unfamiliar with the originals played it and said, oh, Crash is bullshit. It's a poorly designed platformer.
It's the Dark Souls of platforming games.
And it's like, no... It's just they changed the hitboxes and made them worse.
Yeah.
And now that's the legacy Crash has. That's the reputation it has, is that it's not a well-designed game. Even though it's not the original's fault that it's like that.
No. And it's always the funny thing, because it just feels like any time a re-showing of Crash is shown at all, it has to be a new iteration. Like, even that, like, fucking Uncharted 4-bit, where they play a bit of Crash Bandicoot, it's a remake from the ground up of, like, the Boulder level.
Yeah.
And it's not quite the same, you know?
No one's captured that original energy.
Yeah, they also do that thing where they're like, look, you can get a model of the original Crash and play as that in the N Sane Trilogy. And it's like, that's not what he looked like at all. That's not...
Which brings us into the more subjective part of our criticisms of the remake, which is the visuals.
Yeah, here's the thing about the remake of it. The remake does some actually quite good things. It has a normal save system.
Yeah.
And it allows you to collect a gem while still dying in the level, which is what the later Crash games do. And that's much better than the kind of like trial and error, God, I gotta start all over again shit that the original Crash did.
You can play as Coco in most of the levels?
You can switch over to Coco, which I have a stupid opinion about.
You can play as a girl now, so I like it.
I was gonna say, I know that you would be a fan of that because of that aspect. The bigger thing that I kind of take issue with is just the visual element, because as much as it's like new graphics, it doesn't have the same atmosphere, man.
Yeah, and like your mileage will vary. Your mileage will vary, but for our take, it's just not the same.
No, think about those levels where we were talking about the encroaching, all-encompassing darkness of like the ruins levels. Yeah, it's not really very dark anymore. It's just like it's a bit grey, a few bits like. Oh, and like the light, there's like a lighting engine, a proper lighting engine now, which means that catches the polygons in a weird way and it glitches out, and it's just like, I just don't.
They're also more buying into the reputation of Crash Bandicoot being a devilish rogue kind of character who's all confident and smiles rather than being a freaked out mammal.
Yeah, they don't do it too badly, but obviously they've had to like re-portray Cortex and everything, and it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, is the voice acting different?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the guy they've gotten to voice, say, Cortex, is very close to the Twinsanity Cortex voice actor, and he sounds really good.
Yeah.
But it's still a thing of, like, I don't know. Of course I wasn't going to be happy, because I'm such a diehard fan of the original.
Yeah,
but...
maybe we're just old farts, and we like how it was, but... For our money, it's just not quite the same. It's not as appealing as the originals.
Yeah. I gotta find some kind of mod on the internet that, like, reduces the lighting in Crash 1. Like, I'm not, like, you can be a smart ass and be like, yeah, just turn the brightness settings down, idiot. But I mean, like, no, genuinely captures the shadows properly and changes the colors up a bit, because I think that's more important to the kind of feel of the game.
To me, the remake art style just always seemed more generic.
Yeah.
Like, it's like every, like, high fidelity CG render in the modern era, it just looks that certain way. Like the Pixar, not the Pixar, but like the DreamWorks look.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's gonna do that. It's not the worst direction in the world.
It's a fine art style, it's just not the same.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I would have preferred that the original version of the game was still available to buy, like, digitally, and it isn't. Because they're like, we got a remake, why do that?
It's like the same thing with the Silent Hill remake or the Resident Evil ones, where it's like, well, are you going to put the original out anywhere? No? Great, cool.
Yeah,
thanks.
that's going to be the end of Resident Evil 4 being on fucking everything, isn't it?
I bet that will still make it. But, like, Silent Hill 2, the original PS2 version, isn't going anywhere.
No.
Like, you're going to have to do some bullshit to play that game.
I hang on to my copy.
Yeah. For dear life.
Absolutely. But... yeah, that's my little rant corner over.
Yeah.
The N Sane Trilogy is fine. I just don't like it.
Yeah. We have a preference, and that's just how it is.
Exactly. Well, you've decided to put down a little area here about legacy. Ash.
Yeah, although it's weird because I think we've hinted at this or just confirmed it outright, but we did play Crashes 1, 2, 3, Wrath of Cortex, and Twinsanity.
Yeah.
So this is only the beginning of our long and winding Crash journey.
Yeah.
So it may be a bit weird to talk about legacy right now, but I guess I wanted to talk a bit about the game's like impact at the time and the way it shaped the conversation about the PlayStation, if you would be happy to.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it was...
was this game successful at being the PlayStation mascot, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they did some fun marketing where Crash, the guy...
Called Nintendo a bitch, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun contrast with the adverts, is you have Japanese Crash who sits in a classroom and does zany stuff, and then you have American Crash, which is where you can straight up see the guy's head, like, in the cutout of his mouth, driving up to the Nintendo headquarters with, like, a megaphone going, "Mustache Man, your time has arrived."
I'm gonna fucking kill you, Mario.
And then he gets escorted off the premises.
Causing a scene.
It's very much the Western attitude compared
100%. Because that's the thing. Crash Bandicoot is meant to be a representation of that Western 90s attitude, but I just don't feel like he actually is in his games.
No. It's funny because I feel a lot of people do try to make Crash a kind of an avatar of that, whereas like I feel like something like Sonic is definitely much closer.
100%.
It's just that when you actually look at the games themselves, he doesn't have to say shit.
No.
He's not verbose, he's not a Bubsy, he's not a Gex. He just exists.
Yeah.
He is living in the moment. You know?
He just lives, man.
He just lives. He's just a little guy.
He's just living every day.
I just think he's neat. And I'm glad that these games did really well. It led to Naughty Dog being able to fulfill their...
This is the domino that was tipped over to bring us to The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to pose a question to you, Connor, about Crash Bandicoot 1. Because this to me is the most fascinating thing about talking about this game's legacy, quote unquote, is... do you think Crash 1 has much of a legacy? Or do you think it's more just the thing that led into Crash 2, which is the more known game?
I think Crash 1 does. I actually think Crash 1 is the more well-known game.
Really?
Like, 1 and 3 sold way better than 2.
Really?
By, like, a few million. But,
okay, but that does surprise me.
Yeah, but, like, that's the thing.
I've always associated Crash 2 as being the most iconic one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I think this is the most iconic one.
Okay.
I think with Insanity Beach and a lot of the sort of focus on
Toxic
the ruin
waste.
levels and yeah, I think this is like the face of the franchise still.
Okay.
And I think it's the one that people would immediately dive into when they're like, let's go revisit Crash.
Yeah.
And then they'll fucking like fall off the Great Gate 3 times and be like, well,
fuck this shit, I'm out of here.
Get them out of there.
Back to Spyro.
Yeah, which is a interesting sister franchise for Crash.
100%. Yeah.
We'll talk more about that when we get to Spyro.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I've got much more to say about Legacy. I think I'd rather finish things off if you are happy to.
I was hoping we get to 3 hours, but I suppose we can wrap up here.
So, Crash Bandicoot, what a game.
What a game. It's like it's hard to be angry at this game because it's so simple and lovely and pure. Like it's just like a 3D 2D platformer, 32 levels, you go through it. No mess, no fucking bullshit. You just do it, you know?
I think it's easy to get angry at it if you get to the very end of Sunset Vista and then you just make one blunder and you fall off the edge of it, like after having a perfect run the whole way through, which is what happened to me.
No, I don't mean angry at the game and playing it. I mean angry at its existence. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how anyone could hate this game.
No.
Like, it's so pleasant and lovely, and I think it's just a really good time, you know?
Yeah. Unless you have, like, a console war mentality.
Yeah,
like,
fuck Sonic.
You're so anti-Sonic.
I'm gonna kick the Saturn while it's down.
Has it not suffered enough?
No.
But as obviously this was the first game I ever played, I'm very, very fond of Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
And as
That
much
has been one of the most consistent character traits you've had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is something that I feel like doesn't bleed out much onto my YouTube persona. Because, which is fine by me, honestly, but I'd love to have an excuse to talk about Crash Bandicoot on the main channel. I think it would be super fun. But for now, I think I'm just happy to say that Crash Bandicoot fucking rocks. If you can find an original copy and run it on your PlayStation 2, then go right ahead. Go and do that.
Hey, real easy to emulate.
Also really easy to emulate.
Very small file size.
But if you don't want to do that and you want to just pick up the N Sane Trilogy on like a Steam sale or...
You'll break our hearts, but we'll allow it.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. You'll get to enjoy the platform. And you might be saying, well, you read through every single level. Why even play it then? It's like, because it's about the catharsis of doing those hurdles yourself.
It's like saying that you've played a game if you've watched a Let's Play.
Yeah.
Like, you need to actually feel it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, feel is such an intrinsic part of video games, you know?
I know there's some arguments can be made about narrative-driven games, but we're talking about kinetic shit,
Yeah,
you know?
Crash is about jumping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got to be a jumper yourself. You got to feel that
every jump.
to be a Crash Bandicoot. So, Ash, let's get to my favorite arbitrary little bureaucratic list making, the rankings.
I barely even remember what's up with the rankings anymore. We haven't done this in so long.
No, that's fair. I mean, again, we don't have to order these in a specific order. It's just a general ballpark
The audience
figure.
demands that. You're going to put out our spreadsheet with the rankings on them.
Oh my god.
Yeah, do a tier list video.
If there's demand for it, I'll do it. But in terms of quality,
Man, alright. Trying to think all the games you've talked about thus far. I'll say middle high.
middle high.
I don't think it's quite a Signalis or a Clock Tower 3. But for me, like right now, the four good ones are Signalis, RE4, Total War Warhammer 3, and Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
And then there's like a lower rung of the good ones.
Yeah.
And it's in the good ones. You know?
I think,
Up there with Time Splitters
yeah.
and others.
I think that's fair. This game has a few flaws, and it's like in just a few quirks of its time.
Yeah.
But I think I genuinely would agree. I like want to say high, but I think that's giving it too much credit.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. I think middle high is fair.
Put it in the good ones
for it.
Hey, it's with Time Splitters too. It's good company.
Exactly. Yeah, that is good company. And now this is where we probably divide. Interesting.
I think this game is interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's representative of a certain time in games, and it kind of carries that energy in a very specific way. But this one's always really hard because all the games you play are interesting.
That's why we're playing.
Yeah, that's. Well, I mean, apart from some of them, but we'll get into that. But like, this game is interesting to me in terms of its place, in terms of its impact, but not the actual game yet again.
Yeah.
Because once again, the game is just Donkey Kong, but you go up. You know. So I'm going to go straight middle.
Straight middle, yeah. I was about to say the same, because I think its development and its approach to doing a 3D platform game, I think, is interesting.
Yeah.
Like it's a landmark title. It's really gotten off the ground and everything. But it's like, okay, it doesn't have like a Signalis level narrative.
No.
And it's not like a massive.
Could you imagine if it did?
Yeah, Crash has to like turn off the life support machine on
on
Torna.
Yeah.
Oh god.
You could have saved me, Crash. If you didn't do all the bonus levels.
Wow. Crash running around fucking Rotfront would have been great.
Dude, put Rotfront in every game.
Again, he's just a funny little guy to imagine in any scenario. But
like that scene in Signalis where Alina melts into the ground and Crash is just like, oh. Whoa. So yeah, I'm going right middle on interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the right place to go for it.
Yeah.
And then fun.
I don't really enjoy your company. So it really brings down the fun. No, this is one of those games. It's like Ridge Racer. It's the same vibe where we beat this game in one beautiful session, and it was just such a lovely time. There was no like, oh, we've got to kill all 50 of the black roots in Alone in the Dark, or do all this dumb grinding, or there's a level that's really hard. It was just, we just got through it, man.
Yeah.
And it was a good time with pals.
I'm in firm agreement. I think this is a high.
Yeah.
Very much a high. I mean,
Very high.
both in how I enjoy
We were
it.
on a high.
Both in how I enjoy it as a game, and also in terms of like our time together playing it.
Yeah.
That was such a good episode. That was such a good session.
Good episode of our lives.
Yeah, a good episode of our lives. It was. That was a good time in my life.
It was a good time, yeah.
I enjoyed that. But what's next on the list, Ash? I mean, we've I've had to remind you of this. So we've kind of gone a bit off course in terms of like the chronology of the list
we really
a bit.
fucked it up.
There was a game we played after the Resident Evil 2 remake. Crash was quite a bit further ahead onto the year, and that game was Lost Planet 2.
Ow.
A game that I remembered quite liking as a kid.
Yeah, sure you did. Fucking hate this game so much. I'm so sorry. Please just skip the next episode, because I'm gonna be such a sour bitch the entire time. It's gonna be a nightmare. I'm not looking forward to it. That's why I kept sabotaging the Crash episode so we wouldn't get to Lost Planet 2. I'm so unexcited.
You
to
took
talk
a
about
wire
it.
cutter to my PC's on button. Is that what you
have
did?
to fucking play that bullshit game again. Do the worst grapple in the fucking world and fight bullshit guys and get T energy for fucking no reason.
Stay tuned for our most controversial episode yet.
If you like Lost Planet 2, I don't want you to follow our podcast.
No!
You and I are done.
No, we are intellectuals. We must allow an opposing side.
I'll try my best not to be the worst. I did not like that game one bit.
But yes, thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you want to see anything more from me, my main channel is available as a link in the description, and I'll also put a link to Ash's blog as well if she wants to pop anything on there. She's got some essays and stuff she's written up as well.
If you want to log into the Shiva server on Final Fantasy 14, I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll kick your ass.
Find Ash in the wild.
Yeah,
probably.
I'll be mining.
So the truth comes out.
Oh, yeah.
You don't actually work in the mines.
No.
You just do your MMO bullshit.
Yeah, that's right. I got beast drives to do, man. It's important. We're also, we're deeply sorry that these are taking so long to happen.
And any further episodes of the podcast will be available, obviously in the description and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it. I think we need to get ready to get lost on that planet.
Two?
For the second time.
For the second time.
We didn't play the first one, but it's fine.
Yeah, we really couldn't catch up on the story.
But thank you for listening again. I hope that you have a great evening or afternoon or whatever you're doing at the moment.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode, the most difficult thing we've done in our lives.
Go and play Crash Bandicoot.
But go and hug your loved ones and then play Crash Bandicoot.
Play it with them.
Play it with your loved ones. Play it with your enemies.
Peace on Earth under Crash Bandicoot.
Exactly.
We did it!
Yeah.